Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Cabbage Head Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Was in Love with Mei Hatsume. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. UA High School was always a busy place. Students were always off doing their own things and pursuing their own hobbies, especially after classes now that each class had their own dorm rooms which they stayed in for a majority of the year. While Izuku Midoriya also likes to do these things, there was one place that he visited most often, and that was the development studio, otherwise known as Mei Hatsume's place. Ever since the sports festival, Izuku and Mei had been friends of sorts. Ever since Izuku first went to the development studio to upgrade his hero costume, him and Mei had been progressively getting closer as they swapped ideas about Izuku's costume. Today, at the end of a very stressful Friday, Izuku decided to head to the development studio again, despite the questions from the rest of 1A. You've been going to that studio a lot lately, Midoriya, Kirishima stated. Why is that? Is your suit that bad? And no, it's just Izuku began. I hear him and Hatsume have a thing, Zero exclaimed, which got the attentions of Ida, Uraraka, Bakugo and Minta. What? That shitty Deku has a thing for the tech bitch? Bakugo yelled. How do you know who Hatsume is, Bakugo? Have you ever been to the development studio? Kirishima asked. What? You don't think I've had to make changes to my suit? You're a fucking idiot, hedgehog hair. Bakugo replied roughly. Gee guys, that isn't what it's like. Bakugo, please stop yelling. Ida yelled, waving his arms around like he usually does. And Midoriya, if this is true, I congratulate you. There's really no end need. You aren't denying it. So, what is she like? Minta asked, nudging him in the side. She's got a nice chest, you know, really round and big. That's. Please Minta, refrain from talking about Midoriya's friend like that. Who even gives a shit about Deku's insane girlfriend? Izuku began to blush and decided to slowly leave the room while everyone else was arguing over him. As he went through the main doors, Uraraka watched him leave. Deku and Hatsume, are they actually a thing? She thought as the door slowly closed itself. Meanwhile, Izuku began running all the way to the development studio. Why would they think that I like Hatsume? He asked himself. It didn't make sense in his mind, however it would make sense for someone else. Izuku was never that confident with talking to girls, and he would always stutter whenever he talked and feel flustered whenever he felt as if he was too close. Hatsume was no exception. He would always stutter when they talked, and he would always blush whenever she would move in closer to measure his waist or arms, or to simply show excitement. Am I sure that I don't like Hatsume? Of course I don't. I like Uraraka. Yeah, not Hatsume, but Uraraka, he thought as he ran down the school halls. He was a nervous wreck, and everyone could see it. It didn't help that everyone loved to tease him. Mei Hatsume was clearing a workbench by sweeping its contents onto the floor. She, too, had a rough day during her classes. Like with Izuku, Hatsume's classmates had noticed the unusual amount of time she spent with the green-haired kid in the hero course, and they too made assumptions on their friendship. No matter how many times she had blushed at the thought, she ignored her class. Hatsume blushed once again, thinking back to the little scene in her homeroom class. I can't let these thoughts bother me. I have work to do. My babies need constant attention, she yelled, pushing more small pieces of metal and blueprints onto the ground. Besides, it's not like Izuku wants to date me, or anything. Right. Suddenly, the door to the development studio swung open, and Izuku stood in the door frame, panting heavily. Midoriya, Hatsume asked. Are you alright? Why are you panting? Izuku looked up slightly. I was just running to get here, he replied between breaths. Hatsume laughed, then smirked. Why is that? Are you that eager to see me? She then leaned forward, unintentionally revealing more of her chest. Izuku saw this and blushed hard, his head quickly looking in another direction. And no, that I isn't it, Izuku replied hastily. And not that I don't want a BB here, or anything. Hatsume began to laugh, then pulled Izuku into the studio by his arm. It's fine, I was just teasing you, she said after finally gaining control of her laughter. Izuku blushed yet again. Oh, alright. Okay, now that that's been dealt with, let's get to work, Hatsume said firmly as she sorted through the pile of stuff she had pushed onto the ground moments before. She placed a blueprint onto the table that held the plans for Izuku's costume, and the extra equipment that came with it. The two spent over an hour talking about Izuku's costume and the changes that could be made to it. This didn't last for very long, because the two eventually began talking about their day. And then, everyone there began having a very loud and heated debate over our friendship. Weird, right? Izuku finished with a laugh. Hatsume furrowed her brow. Really? I thought we were dating. Yeah, I know. Ida and Uraraka didn't seem to mind, though. Well, maybe Uraraka did. She didn't say anything about it. That's so weird. My classmates asked the exact same things. Do we really spend that much time together? Izuku chuckled. Maybe we do. And not that it's a bad thing. I'll like spending time with you. Hatsume blushed at the comment. Thanks, that's nice of you to say. The two looked at each other for a few moments, before realizing what they were doing and both simultaneously looked away, blushing. Izuku pulled out his phone and read the time. Damn, it's 8 p.m. already, he asked himself. Izuku looked up and saw Hatsume doing the same thing. I should go. It's getting a bit late. Why yeah, okay, Hatsume replied, slowly standing up. Well, I'll see you later. Izuku walked up to the doorway and looked back. Bye, he said, giving Hatsume a quick wave before walking off. As the door closed, Hatsume let out a long and heavy sigh. Ugh, that was awkward, she said as she walked back to her work table. You two seem to be quite close. Why don't you ask him out? A voice asked. Hatsume froze when she realized where the voice was coming from. Power loader, sir, she yelled. It's not like that. Power loader laughed. That's not what it seemed like to me. How long were you there for? How much did you see? She asked hastily. Just the end. By the way, I think you two would be cute together, Power loader said, receiving a blush from the support course girl. Anyway, clean up this mess. I want my studio to be in perfect condition. Why yes, sir. Izuku opened the door to the Class 1 dorms and found that most of the class were on the couches watching TV. Everyone cast their gaze towards him, making him feel uncomfortable. Oh, hey Deku, Uraraka said cheerfully. You were gone for a while. Yeah, he was probably out with his girlfriend, Kaminari said while laughing. What? I don't have a girlfriend, Izuku retorted. Hey, calm down Midoriya, we're just teasing, Kirishima said reassuringly. Don't blame us for thinking it. You two have been spending every afternoon together after class. The whole development studio thing makes it more suspicious, too. What? I agree, Todoroki said stoically, not taking an eye off the TV. You two spend a lot of time together after classes. It would not be strange to assume that you two are an item. Oh man, Midoriya, I didn't know you had it in ya. Ashido cheered. Who would have thought that little old Midoriya would have a girlfriend before anyone else? And with someone so cute as well. Monsieur Midoriya, I believe that you and Madame Hatsume would be very good together, Aoyama said confidently. Deku can date whoever the fuck he wants. It won't change how much I care. Bakugo spat, staring coldly at the ground. Izuku blushed once again at the comments given to him by his class. It seemed that no matter how much he protested, everyone in Class 1 would assume that him and Hatsume will date. I am gonna go to bed, Izuku yelled, quickly turning on his heel and walking away. Did we say something to offend him? Jiru asked. No, he's probably just embarrassed. It's what happens in this sort of situation. The person sitting next to her, Kaminari, asked. Meanwhile, Izuku was already in his dorm room. He went in, locked his door, and headed straight for his bed. He didn't even bother to change out of his uniform. As he pulled the All Might-themed bed sheets over his body, his mind thought of Hatsume and all the comments everyone had made about the two of them. They're wrong, right? There's no way me and Hatsume would like each other, he assured himself as he slowly closed his eyes. We're just too different, Hatsume thought, as she too was tucking herself into her bed. But I guess opposites do attract. When Izuku woke up at the relatively late time of 11 a.m., he was surprised to hear a small knock on his door. Deku, are you in there? The voice asked. It was Uraraka. Why yeah, he replied. Why is Uraraka knocking on my door? You were asleep for a while. I was starting to worry. You're usually up quite early. I was tired, that's why. I'll be down soon, he said groggily. All right, we saved some breakfast for you, but Zero is eyeing up your food, so you had better be quick, Uraraka said before she ran off. Once Izuku made his way into the living room of the Wanted dorms, he was given a few strange looks from his class. He looked over to the kitchen, where Zero was hungrily scooping up the breakfast that was meant for Izuku, a bowl of cereal. Zero looked up from his eating and gave Izuku an apologetic look. Oh, sorry, he said, his mouth still full of cereal. Oi, you shitty walking tape dispenser. Don't speak while eating, it fucking disgusts me. Bakugo yelled from across the room. Midoriya, you have been sleeping for an unusual amount of time. You should know that despite what people may think, oversleeping is bad for one's health. Heroes in training should always make sure their health is in peak condition, Ida advised. Yeah, I know. I was just really tired, Izuku said before yawning. Probably because you were up all night talking to Hatsume, am I right? Ashido said, playfully nudging his arm. What? And no, of course not, Izuku retorted. I didn't think that my social life was so interesting to you guys. It isn't, Bakugo said, despite not being openly involved in the conversation. It's just fascinating to us. I mean, out of all the guys here, you are the one who is the most socially awkward, especially around girls. No offense, Kirishima stated. But somehow, you're the one who seems as if you'll get a girl before all the other Wanted guys. Yeah, Zero said, sticking a spoonful of cereal into his mouth. Who would have thought, I personally thought it would be Todoroki, or even Shaoji. Damn it, plain face, Bakugo yelled. I said to stop talking with your mouth full. Did your mother teach you any fucking manners? Bakugo, don't incite trouble within the dorm rooms. Ida shouted. Where is Minta? I've lost a pair of underwear. Yaorazu exclaimed a bit too loudly as she descended the stairs. Gee guys, stop yelling please, Izuku began before the doors to Class 1A's dorm opened up quickly, and with a loud bang. Everyone stared at the now open door hesitantly, but calmed down when they saw who was standing in the doorway. Izuku, the person called. Izuku shuddered at the mention of his first name. The only person to have called him by his first name is his mother. He slowly turned his head to the door, and was quite surprised to see Mei Hatsume standing there, waving at him. Izuku, I need you to come with me. W what? Ha Hatsume, what are you doing here, and W why are you calling me by my first name? He asked, his voice shaken and his body tense. I called you by your first name. I didn't even notice, she replied, laughing at her memory. Anyway, come with me for a sec. Whoa, Midoriya, she's calling you by your first name now. That's pretty cute. Kaminari called out from the couches. How long has this been going for? Jay just now. He's right, but I like the sound of Izuku more than plain old Midoriya. It rolls off the tongue easier. Izuku, Hatsume said, still standing in the doorway. Deku, can you and your girlfriend please fucking leave? The two of you are making my eyes hurt, Bakugo said roughly. It's bad enough seeing you on a daily basis, Deku, but it's worse to see you standing there like a fucking idiot while some nobody from the support course is standing in our dorm room door is making a scene. Don't listen to him, Midoriya, he's just jealous of you, Kirishima said. No, I quote him not. Why would I be jealous over a shitty Deku? Your class is very loud, Izuku, Hatsume whispered as Bakugo yelled and Ida yelled back in defiance. Maybe we should leave now, I need to show you something really important. Okay then, Izuku replied, his face still red and his stutter still ever present. While Bakugo and Ida were arguing, and while the rest of the class looked on at the scene before them, Izuku and Hatsume slowly left the dorm. As the two walked away, and as the dorm door closed, Bakugo's and Ida's argument finally ended when Ida got too tired of attempting to negotiate with the explosion quirk user. Right then, now that that's done, Ida began. We must find out why Hatsume wants Midoriya to accompany where Hatsume and Midoriya. Did they leave without telling anyone? That was quite a rude action, something I did not expect from Midoriya. Well, who are we to stop him from spending time with his lady friend? Kaminari asked as he settled back down on the couches. Hatsume, what do you have to show me? Izuku asked as he was pulled through the school's corridors, with his arm in Hatsume's strong grip. I don't have enough time to explain right now, but it involves you. Hatsume explained. Don't worry, it's not indecent or anything. Can't you go into any further detail? It still sounds kinda indecent, Hatsume. Okay. I found something that'll be a great breakthrough for my babies, Hatsume exclaimed happily, still pulling Izuku along by his arm. There's this empty room full of spare parts and stuff. It just needs a bit of maintenance before I can put it into good use. Are you sure no one is using the room? It could belong to Power Loader or something. Oh, no. I asked Power Loader about it and he said it's been abandoned for ages. It was going to be used in the event that UA had a really big support course class, but that didn't happen. There's only been at least 10 to 15 students each year for the support course, so the extra room wasn't used. The reason we're going to clean it up is because Power Loader let me have the room for myself. That's great, Hatsume. Now you can make all the babies you want, with no interruptions. And you don't have to help Power Loader with modifying the hero costumes, Izuku said. I didn't think about that last part. I'm still gonna help you with your suit, Izuku. Hatsume cheered. It's fun working with you on things like this. You always get really focused on the task. Kinda like me. The muttering that you do is kinda like me, too. You mutter sometimes, Izuku asked. Yeah, whenever I'm working on the plans for one of my babies. My homeroom class and Power Loader have commented on it, since I never realized that I'm muttering otherwise. Hatsume laughed. I guess we do have something in common, Izuku thought. While he was thinking to himself, Hatsume stopped walking. They now stood in front of a large door, similar to all those in UA High, except the logo on the door, which read Support Course Tinker Room, was faded and very difficult to read. Here we are, the former Support Course Tinker Room, Hatsume announced as she opened the door. The interior of the room was similar to that of the development studio, except there were a lot more packed boxes, discarded sheets of metal, and dust. The right wall had a desk with a fairly old computer sitting on top. The center of the room contained a multitude of workbenches and assorted toolboxes, and the left wall had a shelf unit full of boxes. Like I said earlier, the room was meant for the support course, but there weren't enough students in the support courses of the past for this room to be useful. It was still packed with tools and things though, so hopefully all we'll need to do is unpack, then I can get to work. It doesn't look like you would need me here, though. Why did you take me with you? Izuku asked as he looked around the room. Well, I knew that your quirk is a strength enhancement one, right? So that would mean you're pretty strong. Some of the boxes look pretty heavy, so I thought I'd get my strongest friend to help me out. As strongest? Gee, that's quite a nice thing to say. Hatsume, Izuku stammered. I always like to make sure my brave hero knows how much I appreciate his help. Hatsume exclaimed. Izuku's face turned bright red. Why your brave hero? Well, yeah, you're helping me out, right? You're not here for a reward. You're here for one single purpose, to help me. So that makes you my brave hero, Hatsume explained, unaware of how Izuku was reacting. Well, anyway, we need to get working. I didn't bring any of my babies with me this time, so you'll have to do most of the heavy lifting. Is that okay? Oh, why yeah, I'm fine with that, Izuku said, his face still a bit red. How long do you think this will take? Oh, about an hour or two maybe. Depends on how quickly we can get these boxes unpacked, Hatsume said as she picked up a nearby box. Struggling ever so slightly to lift it, she placed the box onto a workbench and pulled it open. Izuku, come look at this. Izuku blushed at the use of his first name, but followed Hatsume's order and looked into the box. What's in there? A whole bunch of parts. Hatsume cheered. Izuku leaned over and took a look inside the box. It held metal parts that resembled that of a car's engine. They may look like random pieces of junk to you, but I see a whole realm of potential. I can't even begin to describe how many babies I can make with what I have here. And if all the boxes have things like this, then I'll be able to make an almost unlimited amount of babies. You can make that many babies with just this. I sure can. Not only that, but I might be able to teach you how to build things with what I have here. Maybe one day, we can make some babies together, Hatsume exclaimed. Izuku blushed hard and began to sweat profusely. And those babies will be sold to the big companies. And we'll both get rich and famous. Hiyu, am Ma making BB babies? W with Ha Hatsume, Izuku yelled, still blushing hard. Hatsume looked over to Izuku with a friendly grin, before she realized what her previous statement could have meant. She, too, began to blush. Oh, I don't mean it like that. By am making babies, I meant like how I do. Am my machines, Hatsume said while stuttering. I don't want to make babies with you like that. And not that you aren't, good enough for making babies with. I was just so excited about the new room and all the potential, and I wanted to see if maybe you wanted to learn how to make machines, then we can work together on your suit and something. Much to Izuku's surprise, Hatsume began to mutter, just like he did. She began walking in one place and using her arms to make gestures. So this is Hatsume's muttering. Izuku thought, it's so much like mine, too. ... And then Willow, was I muttering just then? Hatsume asked. Why yeah, you were, Izuku replied. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen, Hatsume replied sheepishly as she rubbed the back of her neck. Anyway, that's enough distractions. Let's get to work. And with that, the two did get to work. As Hatsume had predicted, the cleanup and unpacking process took the two of them a single hour. Each of the boxes were filled with similar things to what was in the first box, and some of the boxes had spare tools that would eventually come in handy. As each box was opened, Hatsume began to talk about all the things she could make, as well as things she's already made. And all Izuku could do was listen intently as he continued to move and open boxes on his own. After the hour had passed, the two of them stood near the door, looking out at the progress they had made. The room was now completely assembled, with spare parts and tools on every desk, and all the blueprints Hatsume had with her. The girl in question wiped the sweat off of her forehead and let out a happy sigh. We're done. My precious room is all done. And ready to make some babies. Thanks for your help, Izuku, Hatsume said, giving the hero in training a smile. It's fine, but do you have to call me by my first name? Well, yeah, we're close enough for that, right? Hatsume asked, moving in closer to Izuku. Besides, Midoriya doesn't have that special ring to it. Does anyone else call you by your first name? Oh, only my mother. See, now it's even more special, Hatsume cheered. But it's also more intimate. In that case, you can call me Mei if you want to, of course, Hatsume said, giving Izuku a friendly nudge on the arm. Izuku blushed and looked away, letting out a nervous laugh. So, is there anything else you need my help with? Oh, no, everything's fine here. I just need to move my babies in here, but I can do that on my own. Alright then, I guess I should go, Izuku said. Okay, thanks again, Izuku, Hatsume exclaimed as she wrapped her arms around Izuku's upper body, much to his surprise. He stood in place, tensing nervously as he felt Hatsume's grip tighten for just a second. And during that second he felt her bust push against his own chest. What? Don't think about that, Izuku, you idiot, he thought as Hatsume let go of him. The pink-haired girl waved to Izuku as she walked past him and eagerly ran towards the development studio. Izuku just stood there, still tense and blushing profusely. A while later, Izuku returned to Class 1A's dorm room in Heights Alliance. Unlike all the other times, only Uraraka and Tsuyu were in the main living room. As the door opened, the two girls turned their heads to see Izuku walk through. Hey Deku, where did you go? Uraraka asked. Oh, I was with Hatsume. She found an old room that was going to be used for the support course, but it was abandoned. She wanted someone to help her clean it up so she could use it. Izuku explained. That's why she wanted you this morning, Ribbit? Suyu asked. Yeah, I've been helping her the whole time, Izuku said as he walked past them to get to the kitchen. He grabbed a bag of chips and began walking up the stairs to his room. I'm gonna go do some homework. I'll talk to you guys later. Uraraka and Suyu waited for Izuku to be out of earshot before they began talking again. It seems as if Midoriya is taking a liking to Hatsume, Ribbit, Suyu stated. I know, he's been hanging out with her a lot lately, but I think this is the first time they've hung out together on a weekend, Uraraka said. Deku and I don't even hang out during the weekends that much now. It sounds like you're jealous, Uraraka. Jay jealous of Hatsume? Uraraka asked hastily. No, I wouldn't be jealous of her. Her and Deku are just friends, just like me and Deku. There isn't anything to be jealous of. Uraraka, I can tell that you like Midoriya, Suyu stated, much to Uraraka's surprise. Actually, I think everyone knows, Ribbit. It's quite obvious. Okay, I do like Deku. And yes, I may be a bit jealous, Uraraka admitted. I just really like Deku. I don't know if Hatsume even likes him. And yet she's getting more attention. Maybe Midoriya likes Hatsume now, Ribbit, Suyu said. He liked someone before. Probably. Guys usually do have a crush on someone, Ribbit. Oh, well, there's always the possibility that Deku likes her now. Should I ask him? Uraraka asked. No, Ribbit. I think that if he wants to tell someone about his potential crush, he can do it whenever he feels comfortable. That's fair enough. Meanwhile, Izuku was sitting at the desk in his room, eating from the bag of chips he had. I'm not sure about this anymore. My feelings are so conflicting. Do I like Uraraka or Hatsume? Izuku thought as he put another chip into his mouth. They're both nice girls, and I've known both of them for a while. Do I even have to like one of them? Can I just ignore my feelings for both girls? Ugh, this is so difficult. The rest of the weekend passed with no troubles, giving Class 1 a time to relax after a few weeks of hectic activities. On the first day of the new week, everyone piled into Class 1A's homeroom and sat down at their desks, ready to start their day. The class talked amongst each other as they usually did before homeroom started. But unlike everyone else, Izuku was sitting at his desk silently, staring at the desktop. He had spent a lot of his time in his dorm room throughout the rest of the weekend, claiming that he was doing homework whenever someone would knock on his door to ask if he was okay. In truth, he was doing homework, but most of this time was spent thinking about his current predicament involving Uraraka, Hatsume, and who he had a crush on. Both girls, in his mind, had endearing things that Izuku liked about them. For instance, Uraraka was a very nice person, and in fact the first girl to talk to him nicely for a long time, excluding his mother. On top of that, he had known Uraraka for a lot longer, and had formed a great friendship with her. On the other hand, Hatsume is a very intelligent girl. She had a great understanding of the things that went on around her, and she didn't pay any mind to those who made fun of her. And, although Izuku would never admit it, Hatsume had a large chest and he has taken notice, especially after all the times Hatsume had gotten strangely close to him. While Izuku was going over this in his mind, Mr. Aizawa had entered the room, and was making his way towards the small podium where he usually addressed the class from. Good morning, class, Mr. Aizawa said with his usual monotone voice. Good morning, the class replied, as cheerfully as they could on a Monday morning. Don't get comfortable yet, I have a special task for you, Aizawa said, getting the class's attention. Today, we'll be conducting a newer task, as suggested by Power Loader. I'm sure most of you know who he is and his job here at UA. Mr. Aizawa, sir, isn't Power Loader in charge of costume development? Hagakure asked. That is correct, but let me finish, Aizawa replied. Today, at the request of Power Loader, we will be combining with Class 1H, the support course, for a team-building activity. What? Why? Because it is inevitable. When you all become pro heroes, you will often have to meet with people to modify your hero costume, like you do with Power Loader. These people will no doubt be similar to those in the support course. So Power Loader has suggested that you make connections with those in the support course, so in the future you can have someone you can easily contact for costume upgrades and maintenance. Aizawa explained. Class 1H's homeroom teacher, Mr. Deku, has agreed to his combination and expects us to meet with him in Class 1H's homeroom class in 10 minutes. I suggest you all get ready to leave. The class then burst into conversation as they discussed what they may be doing for this lesson. Izuku didn't move or talk to those near him until he felt a tap on his shoulder. He looked up from his desk and saw Uraraka and Ida standing above him. Hey Deku, Uraraka greeted cheerfully. We saw you sitting here all sad, are you okay? Yeah, I'm just a bit tired, Izuku lied. You really should get your sleeping patterns sorted, Midoriya, Ida advised. Anyway, what do you think this team-building activity will consist of? It seems like the rest of the class is eagerly talking about it. I'm not sure. Something to do with our costumes, maybe. Mr. Aizawa did use costume maintenance as an example for why we should make friends with the support course people, Izuku stated. I don't know how the teams will work, though. Hatsume's told me that Class 1H only has 10 people, and we have 20. Will 2 of us have to work with one support course person? Perhaps. It seems like the most logical conclusion, as it divides our class evenly for groups. If that is the case, who will you have on your team? Ida asked. If we're pairing with the support course guys, I think I know who Midoriya would want to pair up with, Minta said teasingly. It seems that nobody wanted to discuss the team-building activity with him. Ah yes, indeed. It would have to be Hatsume. Correct? Ida asked. I'm sure that even if Midoriya had other plans, Hatsume would want to pair up with him. So that means that if each team will consist of 2 hero course students and 1 support course student, then Midoriya's team requires 1 extra hero. Yeah, but who would I pick? If you are thinking of picking me, I refuse, Ida said, purely because of Hatsume. Truth be told, I am still quite irritated by her display during our fight during the sports festival, and I don't think her and I will get along well enough to work as a team. I'm fine with working with Hatsume, Deku, Uraraka said. Before making teams, you should pick me. It's best to work with people you like, right? Why yes, right, Izuku replied weakly. Right, enough talking. Get up and go to Class 1H already, Aizawa said bluntly. The class quickly got up and left, as per their teacher's command. Ada made sure they all went in single file down the hallway, sticking to the left side so others can get past them easier. Before long, the class had made it to Class 1H's homeroom. Ada opened the door and was greeted by a classroom very similar to theirs, but with larger desks that looked more like workbenches. The homeroom teacher, Mr. Hideyoshi Deki, turned his head as soon as the door opened. You must be Class 1A, he said cheerfully. I'm Mr. Deki, the homeroom teacher for Class 1H. Oh, it really is stone cold, Izuku whispered excitedly. So, I assume Mr. Aizawa went over why you're here. I'll go over it again, since I know Aizawa isn't one to go into great detail. So, when you all graduate to being pro heroes, you'll often find yourself needing to modify or upgrade parts of your hero costume so you can perform your job easier, like Airjet, for instance, who uses a multitude of support items which would need a lot of maintenance. With that in mind, me, Power Loader, and Aizawa decided to run this team activity where you will work with a student from Class 1H to build friendships which will be beneficial later on in your life as a hero, Deki explained. Now, since there are twice as many 1A students as there are 1H students, each team will have to consist of 2 1A students and a single 1H student. I'll leave the team formation to you. As soon as Deki stopped talking and sat down, all the 1H students got up and started talking with the 1A students to form their teams. Izuku watched from the door as all of his friends began mingling with the new students. He decided that he should do the same, but was stopped by a pink blur running into him. Izuku, the blur yelled as it tackled him. Izuku barely managed to maintain balance, and when he regained his composure and looked at what had tackled him, he was somewhat surprised to see Hatsume clinging to his torso. Who would have thought that we'd be combining classes? It's a small world, I guess, Hatsume said with her usual cheeriness, and still standing with her arms around Izuku's torso, which made the green-haired boy feel flustered. Why yeah, I guess so, he replied, blushing and staring down at Hatsume, who still hadn't moved from her current position. I'm glad the rest of the class is distracted, or this would be way more embarrassing. All right, we're gonna be in a team, no arguments about that, Hatsume declared. Now, we just need another person from your class. Who do you want? I don't have a preference, really. Just as long as we can take part, Izuku said. Nice, very heroic. I guess I'll pick then. Hatsume then began looking around the whole class, searching for another 1A student. How about the girl who was in the cavalry battle with us during the sports festival? What was her name again? Oh, Uraraka, Izuku asked. Oh yeah, she said earlier that she wanted to be on my team. We just need to find her. Find who? Uraraka, who had made her way through the groups of people and ended up behind Izuku and Hatsume, asked. AGH, Izuku screamed. Oh, it's just you, Uraraka. Oh, Uraraka, what great timing. We were just going to find you to complete our team. But it looks like you came to us, which is even better. Hatsume cheered. Yeah, we were discussing the activity in our homeroom class, Uraraka began, but was soon interrupted by Hatsume. Izuku, wanna go to a desk now? Hatsume asked. Oh, sure, Izuku said, before leaning in towards Hatsume. Also, do you really have to call me by my first name in public? Oh, I don't see why not, Hatsume said happily. They're ignoring me again, Uraraka thought as she followed Izuku and Hatsume to a desk. Here, let's sit here, Hatsume said as she pulled Izuku to the side, towards a desk in the middle of the room. This one's my desk. I thought it would be easier to work here since I know the layout of the entire class from this one location. That's pretty cool, Hatsume, Izuku said, although unsure about why she told him this. At the desk, which looked more like a workbench, the 3 students sat with Hatsume at the leftmost side, Izuku in the middle, and Uraraka on the rightmost side. Alright, I hope everyone had formed their teams, Deku said loudly from the front of the class. And it seems like Mr. Aizawa has joined us. Better late than never, I suppose. Haha, let's just get on with the class, shall we? Aizawa said stoically. Right. Well then, now that you are all in your groups, I want you all to listen closely to the tasks. The first step is easy. I want you to share your name and quirk with your team. This will be the easiest portion of the activity to begin with, but I will be randomly testing each group to see if they remember the facts that they learn about one another. Got it? Yes, sir. Good, now begin. The whole class then began talking amongst each other, albeit more quietly than each class would usually talk. This is gonna be easy for us. We all know each other here. Hatsume said. I'm not even gonna do it. There's no point, and it gives us more time to just talk. Whoa, Hatsume. I never expected you to be such a slacker, Izuku said mockingly. Haha, Izuku. I never expected you to be such a completionist. In fact, I kinda expected this from Ida. Hatsume replied, smirking. Speaking of Ida, has he stopped hating me yet or? Deku and Hatsume get along so well, I can't help but feel like a third wheel right now. Uraraka thought as she watched the other 2 members of her team talk between each other so enthusiastically. Do I even have a shot with Deku anymore? ... What am I saying? Of course I do. I just have to try. Yeah, keep persevering until I reach my goal. While Uraraka was thinking and Hatsume was talking eagerly, Deku walked up to their group and looked at the 3 quizzically. Are you 3 finished introducing yourselves? He asked. We have, sir. Hatsume replied happily. Very good, you 3. I expected no less from you, Hatsume, Deku said proudly as he walked off to check on the other groups. As the teacher left, Hatsume and Izuku began talking again. A person from Class 1H saw this and decided to say something. Hey, Hatsume, is that your boyfriend? The person yelled. He was a rather tall person, with large muscles, a well-sculpted face and circular-shaped hair that was 25 centimeters in length. Akiro, he is not my boyfriend. I've been over this before, Hatsume replied before going back to talking to Izuku. Akuhei Akiro, the one who called out to Hatsume, is one of 1H's best students, overshadowed only by Hatsume herself. He was in a group with Ashido and Kirishima. Hey, who's Akiro? Izuku asked. Oh, he's just some guy in my class, Hatsume explained. He's really talented too, but he views anyone better than him as a rival. From what I understand, he's kinda like that Kaken person you've mentioned a bit. Really, I'm sure he's not as bad as Kaken, Izuku said before checking to see how far away back you go. Alright class, that should be enough time to introduce yourselves, Deku said as he made his way back to the front of the class. The next task will be analyzing a blueprint. Not just any blueprint, though. The blueprints I'll be handing out are blueprints for your hero costumes, and any support gear that goes with it, if any. Each team will have 1 blueprint, as well as a basic description of the quirk of the person who owns the suit. Your task will be to analyze it and discuss what is good about the suit, and where improvements could be made. Deku went from desk to desk, handing out blueprints for the hero costumes. When he came to Izuku's group, he placed down a blueprint for Aoyama's hero costume. Oh, it's Aoyama's, Uraraka said as she leaned forward to get a closer look at the blueprint, only to have the blueprint unintentionally moved away from her sight by Hatsume. Ho. This is actually a very complicated-looking suit, she said as she held the blueprint closer to her face. So he can create a laser from his navel? That's quite useful. And his suit lets him channel the energy from the laser to different parts of his body, so he can emit them somewhere else. I really like the belt. The design is very intricate, and uses a lot of cutting-edge tech for the simplest function. Yeah, he has those belt thingies on his shoulders and stuff, but I've only ever seen him use the laser in the main belt, Izuku said. I'd say that the best feature of this suit is its exterior simplicity. Some heroes use really large and flashy suits that give away any handheld weapons they might use. But Aoyama's suit just looks like a knight's outfit, so any villains he might encounter will underestimate him, Hatsume explained. I can't see many things that could be improved though. Maybe getting rid of the cape. I personally think the cape is a good look, Uraraka said. That's true, but a lot of heroes have been killed by large fans and things because their capes get stuck in them, Izuku explained. Maybe I should tell that to Aoyama later. What do you think, Hatsume? What? Did he really just do that? Bringing Hatsume into our conversation, Uraraka thought as she felt more and more frustrated. I just want to talk with Deku. Why can't I do that? Right, stop there for a second, Deku yelled quickly. Kimiona, stand up please. The student in question, Kimiona, stood up. He was very tall, with long and unkempt black hair and a strangely circular face. Yes, sir. Name the 2 people in your team. Of course, Kimiona pointed to the person on his left. This is Kaminari. He then pointed to the person on his right. And this is Asui. Just call me Tsuyu, Ribbit. Tsuyu said. Okay, very good, very good. Alright then, Altios, you're up now. Altios then stood up. Vega Altios was also very tall, with long black hair and a slender figure. Name the 2 people in your team. Sure, in my team is Aoyama and Ida, Altios said. Surprisingly, he had a high-pitched voice. Wow, this Altios guy kinda looks like a girl. Or is it that Altios is a girl that looks a bit like a guy? Izuku thought. Very good, Altios. You can sit down now. Altios nodded, then sat down. Deki went towards Aizawa, who said something to him. However, since Izuku was too far away, he couldn't hear. Alright class, it seems we've run out of time right now. Deki said. Mr. Aizawa has informed me that we can continue this task at a later date. Class 1A, follow your teacher back to your class so you can continue with your regular daily schedule. Ida stood up. Thank you, Mr. Hideyoshi Deki, for allowing us to use your classroom space for this cooperative activity. Ida shouted as he bowed dramatically. It is fine, Ida. Now hurry along, Deki said. Class 1A stood up and prepared to leave, but Izuku was stopped by Hatsume. Hey, Izuku, take this. Hatsume handed Izuku a slip of paper. It has my phone number on it. I realized a while ago that he hadn't exchanged numbers yet, but now that we can stay in contact for longer. Oh, thanks Hatsume, Izuku said. I'll see you later, then. Yeah, bye now, Hatsume said as Izuku left the class. At the end of the day, Hatsume was sitting in the Class 1H dorm room, taking it easy after a long day of school while texting Izuku. After exchanging numbers in their first class, Hatsume had been sending texts to Izuku throughout her classes, whenever she had spare time. At this point, Hatsume had fully accepted her crush on Izuku, but tried to hide it from her fellow classmates. While she was texting, she failed to notice a student enter the living room. Oh, hey, check out, the person said, louder than a usual person would speak. Hatsume jumped and let out a small frightened squeal before calming down. She knew who the person was, due to the loudness of the person's voice and the nickname that she was called. Geez, Yasakura, you startled me, Hatsume yelled as she placed her phone in her pocket. Sorry, who were you texting? Oh, just Izuku. We were talking about the group thing we did this morning, Hatsume said. Izuku, he was the guy in your group, right? The green-haired boy. Yeah, that's him. You know him? Well, not personally. I know his smell quite well, Yasakura said. His smell? Why do you know his smell? It's quite simple, really. I've known his smell for a while. One day I could smell it in the dorms. I didn't pay much attention to it, of course, until I realized his smell was mixed with yours, and now I know why, Yasakura explained. It is because you spend a lot of time with this Izuku, and you've brought his smell into the dorms with you. Huh, that's funny, Hatsume said. At least now you know where the smell came from. Yes, indeed. You know, the way the two smells were intertwined the way they were can only be achieved through physical contact, Yasakura said. Not just small brushes, of course. Interactions like hugs usually allow something like that to happen, which begs the question, why are you hugging Izuku? What? Me, hugging Izuku? That's crazy. No, it's quite believable. I saw how you greeted him this morning, check out. I'm sure I saw you look up at Izuku from your desk, then run towards him and jump into his arms. Why, you saw that? Yes, is that a sign that you two are already intimate? Or do you simply want to be intimate with him, so you're attempting to make him like you? Yasakura mused. I'm not too sure myself. While Yasakura was talking, Hatsume was sweating and had a large blush on her face. Yasakura was known to talk loud a lot, and now was no exception. Yasakura was raising his voice as per usual, and he had no intentions on stopping. Wait, please stop yelling, Hatsume said quickly. Okay, it's true. I have a crush on Izuku. Please don't tell anyone. I won't, you have my word. But tell me, what do you see in him? Well, I always thought Izuku looked kinda cute. Once I got to know him, I began to respect his determination and optimism. He's also ripped, and I like that on a man, Hatsume said while blushing heavily at the thought of a shirtless Izuku. Very well. As I said earlier, I will not tell anyone of your crush on Izuku, Yasakura said, without his usual loudness which surprised Hatsume. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you, Yasakura, Hatsume said sincerely, smiling brightly. Please, just call me Genru. Everyone else does. Okay, Genru, I'm gonna head out for a bit. Hatsume sighed as she stood up. See you later. Are you going to see Izuku? Genru asked, causing Hatsume to blush. I'm joking. Goodbye, check out. On the following Tuesday, Class 1A began making preparations to continue the cooperative activity with Class 1H. Their teacher had informed them of what they would be doing today, testing out inventions made by the support course. That was exactly what Aizawa had told them, too. The class had concluded that he was not the kind of person to go into too much detail. The class had piled into Class 1H's homeroom and were waiting for further instructions from Mr. Deku, Class 1H's homeroom teacher. All right, Class 1A. When you left yesterday, I had each student here make a support item for you all. Each item is made specially for your individual use, and they should enhance the way you fight or use your quirk in a practical situation. We'll be going to Gym Gamma to use these items, but first we must make teams. Deku explained. He pulled out a box with a hole in the top. You will all reach into the box and pull out a single card with a number on it. The number on the card ranges from 1 to 10, and that number will symbolize the team you will be in. Once all the cards are gone, I want each student with a matching number to form a team. Understand? Yes, sir. Very good. I want everyone to make a single file line and take a card from the box. Both classes lined up, and they all slowly advanced towards Deku, who was holding the box out in his hands. Izuku stood in the middle of the advancing line, next to Hatsume. You're gonna love this task, Hatsume said excitedly. I was helping the person who made your particular tool, since I know you the best, so I know exactly what it is and how it works. Really? Can you tell me about it? Izuku asked. I really want to, but I won't. The reason why Mr. Deku didn't show you what we made is because it's meant to be a surprise. Hatsume replied. You're pretty special to me, but not special enough for me to ruin the purpose of the activity. Huh, I must be special to YU. Oh no, I can't believe I said that out loud. Quick, Mei, think. How do I get myself out of this situation? Hatsume thought as a blush quickly formed on her face. Yeah, as a friend. That's right. Hey, what are you two talking about? The person behind Izuku asked. Izuku tensed up quickly and turned his head to see who was there. He screamed a bit when he saw a face that resembled a hairless wolf standing right behind him, looking down. What is that? Izuku yelled. What? That's a bit rude. The person said. I'm Yazakura Genru, but you can just call me Genru. I insist. Oh, sorry about earlier. I guess I was just startled. Izuku said weakly, still frightened from his earlier scare and a bit intimidated by Genru's height. It's fine, it's all in the past now. Anyway, you are Izuku, right? Yeah, that's me. How did you know? It's your scent. I'm able to smell things that are almost unsmellable to a normal human nose. Similar to a wolf, I can smell each person's individual scent. Your scent is one that lingers on checkout over there often, and I deduced a while ago that the once unknown scent belonged to you, since she talks about you all the time in the dorms. Genru said, almost stoically. Hey, I don't talk about Izuku all the time. Hatsume retorted, leaning against Izuku's back to be heard better, despite her shouting. Izuku blushed as he felt Hatsume's bust press against him. That may be true, but he is brought up often during any conversation with you. Genru replied, earning a small blush from Hatsume. Anyway, I believe we should focus on the task today. I must warn you that some of the support tools that have been made are rather complicated for some to comprehend, so it is important that you focus on what you are told about it, rather than focusing on other people. Oh, of course, Izuku replied. I'm eager to see what my support tool is. Can you tell me who made mine? Yours was made by Akiro Akue, one of this class's most talented students. He, along with Checkout on some occasions, worked on the device for some time. Genru said, I'm not sure exactly what the device is, myself. The line had made significant progress while Izuku and Genru were talking. Hatsume had just picked her card. All right, I won't check what I have until you guys are done. Meet me at my desk. Okay, Izuku replied. He made his way towards the box and gently pulled out a card. He held it so that he wouldn't see the number, and made his way to where Hatsume's desk was, in the middle of the class. Hatsume was sitting at the desk, tracing the edges of her card with her thumb. She looked up when she heard Izuku's footsteps, and her face lit up. Oh hey, where's Genru? She asked. He's still getting his card. He should be here, right now, Genru said as he walked up to the two. Let's check our numbers. The three flipped their cards over all at once. Hatsume had a number 8, Genru had a number 4, ... and Izuku had a number 4. Aw, I'm not in your team, Hatsume said sadly. At least you guys are in a team together. Yeah, it's a shame that we're all not in a team. I think we'd get along well together. It'd be just like my small group in Class 1A. Izuku said. Oh well, I guess that's just how it is with drawing lots, Hatsume said. I'm gonna go find the others with number 8. See ya. Hatsume waved happily at the two, then ran off to the other clusters of students, leaving Genru and Izuku alone. Well, Izuku began. He was hoping to be in a group with Hatsume, purely because he knew her and it would make any cooperative parts of the activity easier. However, it seemed now that it may not be the case anymore. The chances of being paired up with someone from Class 1A was high, since the number of students in his class outweighed the amount of students in Class 1H. However, Izuku was not confident that he would be paired with someone he knew. His prediction turned out to be correct when a person he had never met before came up to him and Genru with a card in his hands. This person had black hair in a similar style to Todoroki's. You guys have an in number 4. he asked. Yes, we do indeed, Genru said as he lifted his card up. This guy seems more socially awkward than me. How is that possible? Izuku thought as he saw this person trembling in his shoes as he spoke. Okay, good. But who is this? The person asked, motioning towards Izuku. He took a step towards Genru when he said this, and that gave Izuku the impression that he wasn't fond of strangers, though he seemed hesitant to move towards Genru as well. I'm Midoriya Izuku. I'm from Class 1A. Nice to meet you, Izuku said cheerfully, holding his hand out for a handshake. The person jumped when Izuku moved his arm. Oh, I am Nakamura T. Tomohisa, he said as he weakly shook Izuku's hand. Sorry if I'm a bit jumpy. My quirk H has had a few adverse effects on me. It's mnemonic reversal, and it lets me remember any event P perfectly. It also lets me see memories F from past lives. And sometimes those memories C can mix with my own O ones, and I sometimes C can't decipher what I saw myself and what B belongs to a past life. B because of that, I am really paranoid all the time. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Don't be B. It's kind of useful, S sometimes. 1T time. I tried using my quirk T to get the highest mark on a H history assignment. Long story SH short, I ended up W with the highest mark on the H history assignment, as well as some M memories of a Jewish person who W was in Auschwitz. Oh, whoa, that must have been scarring for you. Why yeah, the two stood in silence for a bit. From that small conversation, Izuku could tell that Nakamura wasn't a people person. He mentioned that he was paranoid all the time, and he could see why. Imagine if, instead of randomly recalling your own memories, you randomly recall a memory that doesn't belong to you. Deku stood up. Okay, I can see that you are all in your teams. I would like you all to make your way to Gym Gamma, where the support items should be. Get moving, now. The class responded by getting up and leaving, as commanded. Izuku walked out the door with Genru and Nakamura following closely behind. He could already tell that he would miss having Hatsume's energy in his group. Hatsume's group was the first to arrive at Gym Gamma, thanks to the people in her group. She was paired with Uraraka and Ida, so it was no mystery as to why they were there before anyone else. Before they left, Uraraka and Ida were talking on their own when Hatsume approached them. Needless to say, Uraraka wasn't overly happy to see the pink-haired girl. Ida, although still harboring a small grudge against Hatsume for her actions during the sports festival, was willing to put that aside for the sake of the task ahead. Uraraka's jealousy over Hatsume's relationship with Izuku had only grown after yesterday, as the two would regularly talk to each other and rarely include her, not to mention the two hanging out after school like they always do. Sure, she always hung out with him in between classes, during lunch and during homeroom, but the way they talked and the way Izuku looked when they talked was much different to how Hatsume and Izuku interacted. Whenever he was with Hatsume, they both had wide smiles on their faces and laughing often. Whenever he was with Uraraka, Izuku would act similarly, but he didn't seem as happy as he was with Hatsume, and that really annoyed Uraraka. What did Hatsume have that she didn't? In front of the three was a table made of concrete and covered with the support tools. Each item varied in size and shape, probably due to the wide range of quirks. Uraraka could already see a few that stood out, like a large belt and very heavy-looking gloves and boots. The rest of the class arrived just then, and they let out a number of oohs and ahs when they saw the support tools. Oh, Uraraka, Ida, look at this one, Hatsume exclaimed as she eagerly beckoned for the rest of her team to go to her. This is the one I made myself. I'm sure you could easily guess who this belongs to. The tool in question was an arm attachment with something that resembled a small t-shirt cannon attached to it. I have no idea, Uraraka said after quickly analyzing the tool. I also do not know who this could belong to. Perhaps Mainta. The small cannon attachment could be used to fire the grapes on his head. Ada concluded. That's right. This is gonna be used for that exact purpose. Hatsume cheered, using her hands and arms to imitate an arm cannon shooting a projectile and exploding, as well as creating her own sound effects. I mean, the gloves are good enough, but what if Mainta's throw isn't that good? He can't get someone else to throw for him. This is the ultimate workaround. It's quite ingenious, I must say, Ada said, holding his hand up to his chin. If this is what this particular tool is like, I wonder how the rest will function, or if the others can even live up to this level. There's only one way to find out, Ada, Uraraka said firmly, pressing her fist into her open palm. Let's try them out now. That's a good idea, but how will we be able to find out which tool belongs to us? Ida asked. Simple. There are labels. Hatsume pointed to the label on Mainta's tool, which clearly read Mainta. Alright, that makes it a lot easier. It seems the others found out about the labels before us, though. As the group looked around, they saw a multitude of groups already trying out their support tools. We had better get a move on before time runs out. And so that's what Ida and Uraraka did. With the help of Hatsume, the two heroes in training found their specially made tools and tried them on. Each label came with basic instructions on how to use them, so there was no trouble there. Uraraka's tool was also an arm attachment that would push people away. It was designed so that she could repel any villains by applying her quirk on them, then using the device to keep them at a distance. Ada's support tool was more simple. It allowed him to cool down his engines faster, as well as keep them from frosting over and rendering them useless. While Uraraka was testing her support tool, she couldn't help but notice Hatsume wandering off to talk to Izuku. This made her angry to no end. I can't believe that she'd ditch us to talk to Deku. During a team activity as well. Deku isn't even on our team. This thought came up in her mind many times, and a similar thought surfaced when she saw Izuku coming to her group. At first, Uraraka was happy. She thought that Izuku was coming here to talk to her, and that really lifted her spirits. However, Izuku wasn't here for her. Uraraka looked towards Izuku and waved happily. Izuku waved back, of course, but continued to walk right past her and towards Hatsume. Uraraka watched Izuku walk up to her, wave, and begin talking. His group wasn't far behind. Uraraka watched as the tall wolf-like man and the black-haired and visibly distressed boy walked towards Izuku and joined the conversation. HMPH. At least Deku brought his group with him, Uraraka thought as she watched him from a distance. While Uraraka was busy thinking about her jealousy, she failed to notice the wolfman walk right up to her. "Hello," the man said. Uraraka squealed and looked up quickly. "You seemed lonely, watching us from over here, so I thought I would introduce myself." "Oh, thank you. I'm Uraraka Achako. What's your name?" "I'm Yazakura Genru, but you can just call me Genru. Please forgive me for my intrusion, but I couldn't help but notice that you looked visibly distraught. Is something the matter?" "Oh, it's nothing." Uraraka lied. "You're lying, aren't you? I'm quite observant. If I wasn't, I would not have picked up on your sadness just now." Again, "Is something the matter?" Okay. There is something wrong. I'm jealous over Deku and Hatsume's relationship," Uraraka said quietly. "Deku, do you mean Midoriya?" "Yeah, Deku's my nickname for him." That's a good one, albeit insulting at first. I've been thinking about calling him Midori, simply because of his green hair. Anyway, why are you jealous? Is it because you hold feelings for one of them?" "Yeah, I like Deku. Romantically. I haven't had the courage to tell him, though. The jealousy stems from the fact that I've known Deku since the start of the year, and I've only made very little progress with getting him to like me, but Hatsume's been able to surpass me with ease. Now that Hatsume's getting closer to Deku, I keep thinking that my chances of dating Deku are slimmer than before," Uraraka explained. "Oh, I can't believe IJ just told you that. Please, just ignore me." "I cannot. You have explained your situation, so I'm going to help you. Listen closely," Genru said strongly. Uraraka did as he asked. "You still have a chance with Midori, however I suspect that Check Out, that's my nickname for Hatsume, also harbors feelings for Midori. So, if you want to date him, you need to act soon, otherwise you'll lose your chance. Bear in mind that the chances aren't very high, so be prepared for failure. Also, your jealousy shouldn't stop you from joining in on conversations. Come join us for a bit. I'm sure Midori would like that," Genru said. "After all, your explanation made it sound like you and Midori are close friends. Am I wrong?" "And no, you're right. Then come with us." Uraraka hesitated at first, but eventually smiled and nodded. "Okay." Before long, the class was over, and Class 1 left to continue their normal sessions. Uraraka joined in on the conversation between the two groups and had a fun time. She was surprised when, despite what she originally thought would happen, Izuku actively spoke to her. In fact, most of the group was actively participating in conversation, except for the timid guy who was later revealed to be Nakamura Tomohisa. This conversation continued during the lunch hour, when Hatsume actually removed herself from her special tinkering room to eat lunch in the cafeteria. Although, this time she spoke mainly to Izuku and was getting as close to him as possible, both intentionally and unintentionally. At the end of the day, while everyone in Class 1 was relaxing in their dorm rooms, Izuku's phone lit up and vibrated. Surprised, Izuku took out his phone and checked it. The screen displayed the current time, his All Might-themed background, and one notification from a contact labeled Hatsume with a gear emote next to it. Izuku unlocked the phone and checked the notification. It read, "Hey Izuku, do you want to come to my dorm tomorrow after school?" Izuku blushed. She's asking me to go tea to her dorms. I'll like a date. He gulped nervously. What will poor Izuku do now? Izuku stared at his phone, dumbfounded. In his mind, Hatsume had just asked him on a date to the equivalent of her home. Izuku was never a popular person, so he had never gone to another person's home often, let alone the home of a girl he had a crush on. His mind was racing, thinking of what he would reply with and all the things that could go wrong if he said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing. What do I say back? She just invited me to her dorm. Is it like a date? No, it'll be like going to a friend's house to hang out. But I've never done that before. What happens when you go to a friend's house? Izuku thought. As I said, his mind was racing. Izuku began to shake, so made his way to his personal dorm room to prevent people looking at him and worrying over nothing. He sat down on his bed and stared at one of the many large All Might posters on his wall. "What do I do?" he said out loud to no one in particular. "I've never been in this kind of situation before. What if I do something wrong? Ugh, sitting and talking to posters of All Might won't help me. I need to do something. I need to ask someone for help, but who? Hatsume? No, she's contributing to the problem. Uraraka? No. Ada? No. Well, that's all my friends out of the question." Izuku placed his hand over his chin. "Who is someone who's been able to help me in the past? Someone who's always had faith in me. Someone who's backed me up through any difficult situation." Then it hit him. There was someone who fit those requirements. He just had to find that person. Later, Hatsume was chilling in her repurposed support course room. She treated the place like she treated the development studio, except she didn't have to worry about Power Loader getting on her case about something. She had placed her phone on an empty table and was waiting for a reply from Izuku. But she was also worrying about him. She knew that Izuku wasn't the most popular person as a kid, so he wasn't able to experience what it was like to go to a friend's house and hang out, which is what the situation presented itself as. What if I overwhelmed him all of a sudden? Izuku's a shy person, and he'll probably freak out over my text. I didn't even give him any details about what we'll do, either. He's definitely gonna overthink it. Hatsume thought as she stared off into space. Hatsume's phone vibrated. The pink-haired girl quickly looked towards her phone and unlocked it. Izuku had replied, a lot sooner than Hatsume had expected. She quickly read the message and typed in a speedy reply. The two engaged in a small conversation, until Hatsume leaned back and sighed happily. Her phone read, "Izuku, what would we do there?" Hatsume, "Just hang out and stuff. I didn't really plan it out." Izuku, "Oh, okay. Sure, I'll meet you at your dorm after school tomorrow." Well, it wasn't the response Hatsume was expecting, but it was certainly something. Judging from the response, Izuku was able to keep his cool and respond without looking like a fool, though Hatsume was sure that he did the exact opposite in person, but was able to relax. A few minutes earlier, Izuku knocked on the door of the staff room within UA. He had decided that the person he would go to for advice would be All Might, the now retired symbol of peace and the former #1 hero. As expected, All Might was the one to answer the door. "Young Midoriya, I received your message. Come in, and tell me what it is that you needed help with." "Thank you, All Might. Well, recently I've been hanging out with Hatsume from the support course," Izuku began. "The pink-haired girl from the sports festival? I remember her, very bright girl." "Go on." "Well, we've been hanging out for a while and I, think I have a crush on her," Izuku said. "Anyway, she invited me to her dorm room and I don't know what to do. Can you help me?" "Well, Midoriya, my boy, I have not had much experience in this field, I'm afraid. When I was your age, I was training hard to be able to wield one for all. Tell me, how do you feel about Hatsume?" All Might asked. "I realize you told me that you have a crush on her, but provide more detail than that. What is it about her that makes you like her?" Izuku began. I like her because she's an outgoing person, who's smart, funny, confident, and beautiful. She always has this bright smile on her face, and has the sweetest laugh I've ever heard. I've never felt like this over anyone before." "Wow, Midoriya, my boy, those are some very intense feelings," All Might said in surprise, a clear look of shock on his face. Who would have known that Midoriya would feel this way over a girl? And at such a young age, too. Izuku blushed heavily, nervously laughing and looking away from his mentor. I don't know what came over me. Just ignore what I said." "But why? Those are your feelings, young Midoriya. You must embrace them, accept them. Now that I know how you feel, I suggest that you accept Hatsume's offer. However, the decision is yours. Follow your heart, my boy. That is all I can say." "Oh, of course, thank you, All Might," Izuku exclaimed proudly, standing up straight. "I'll text her right now." "Go right ahead. Now, run along now," All Might said. "Why, yes." Izuku got up and ran out of the door, towards his dorms. All Might smiled as he left. His successor was a child with strong feelings. He would make a great hero, he was sure of that. The next day, school had finished, and Izuku swiftly made his way to Class 1H's dorm. While none of his class were looking, Izuku swiftly evaded his friends to make his way to Hatsume's dorm. He didn't tell anyone about his plan, so he couldn't risk having anyone from Class 1 seeing him and asking him about what he was doing. Hatsume was already at the dorms, and she waved happily when she saw the green-haired boy approach. "Hey Izuku, nice to see that you didn't ditch me," Hatsume yelled as Izuku approached her. "Oh, of course I didn't. Why would I want to do that?" Izuku asked. "You want to spend time with me?" "Aw, how sweet of you," Hatsume said teasingly. "Come in, I'll show you around." Hatsume turned around and walked to the door. While she was distracted, Izuku pulled a slip of paper from his pockets. He had looked up what friends usually did when they hung out at their homes, which proved how many times Izuku had done this kind of thing and how many friends he has had in the past. The paper read, Step 1, make sure friends are entertained. Step 2, don't make the host do everything for you. Step 3, make sure the host knows your gratitude for allowing you to stay. It contained the basics. Izuku followed Hatsume into the room. Class 1H's dorms were very similar to Class 1A's, which surprised Izuku. Here we are, the home of Class 1H, Hatsume exclaimed. This place is really similar to my dorm room. They must have made all the dorms the same, Izuku stated as he looked around the room. Class 1H's dorm was indeed the same as Class 1A's, with the exception of some decorations added by those who lived here. The couches were the same, the layout of the furniture was the same, the main floor was the same as well. Overall, it was all the same. UA probably designed all the dorms the same way to save time building, Hatsume replied. But enough of that. We have a whole night of fun ahead of us. What do you want to do first? Oh, what's on offer? Tons of things. We could watch TV. I could try find some games or something like that. We could just talk like we usually do. I don't know. What do you like doing? I usually just write about new quirks or heroes that I see during the day. I don't do this kind of thing very often, Izuku replied. Oh well, I'll take command for today then. Don't worry, Izuku, you're gonna have the time of your life. Izuku and Hatsume decided to settle down in front of the TV for a while. They watched pretty much anything that was on at the time. Class 1H's TV had access to Western shows, thanks to the talented students, so the two was able to watch all sorts of fascinating and new shows none of them had seen before. An hour after Izuku arrived, their get-together was interrupted by someone Izuku remembered from their class lessons. Oh hey Hatsume, what's this guy doing here? A person with a high-pitched voice said. Izuku turned to see Altios Vega standing by the couches where the two sat. Hey Altios, this is my friend from Class 1A, Hatsume exclaimed. Hi, I'm Midoriya Izuku. Izuku said as calmly as he could. It's nice to meet you. Midoriya. It's nice to meet you too. You're the one Hatsume's always talking to on her phone. May I ask, why are you here and not at your own dorm? Altios asked. I'm here to hang out with Hatsume, at her request. I thought it would be nice to spend some time here with her. Sounds like a date, Altios said, rather bluntly. Though if you are dating, that's great. Hatsume definitely needs someone to distract her from her strange working methods. Hey, my working methods aren't weird, Hatsume retorted. Yeah, I'd say they are. You work on your babies almost non-stop. In fact, I'm sure the only time you stop working is when you're talking to this guy, Altios stated. If you two are dating, I can only see him having a good influence on you, you know. Hatsume began to blush. Why yeah, I know. You guys say this all the time to me. You guys. There's more who say the same stuff, Izuku asked. That's right. There's me, Genru, Kimiona and Nakamura. Though Nakamura only talks about this kind of thing with Genru. He's a bit shy, you see, Altios explained. Who's Kimiona? Oh, Kimiona's a strange case. We only know his first name, which is Kimiona. In fact, he said that even he doesn't know. Kimiona's quirk lets him temporarily erase memories. And a lot of people think he somehow used his quirk on himself when he was young, Altios said. Anyway, he rarely talks to us and he's pretty mysterious. But he's pretty cool. Oh, that's a pretty rare quirk. I gotta remember it for my notes, Izuku said, slowly beginning to mutter to himself. Speaking of quirks, what's yours? Izuku, no. We're focusing on having a good time, okay. You can do your muttering and quirk research stuff later, Hatsume said, getting his attention. Oh, sorry, Hatsume, Izuku said, quickly turning his head back to the TV. We should talk more sometime about your quirk, Altios. We should indeed. Anyway, I'll leave you two to your date or whatever this is, Altios said as he turned around. Izuku and Hatsume both blushed as Altios left. Oh, this isn't a D-date, is it? Izuku asked nervously. What? And no, I planned it to be a small outing between friends. Yeah, those guys just like teasing me about my friendship with you, Hatsume said. I mean, unless you want this tea to be like a date. I don't know about that. I've never been on a D-date before, so I'd probably stuff something up, Izuku said, blushing heavily. But it's up to you whether you want this to be a date or not. I don't want to force you into anything. Oh man, I'm sorry if I have ruined this with my awkwardness, Hatsume. Hatsume blushed, looked up at the green-haired boy, who was beginning to shake nervously. The shaking only increased when Hatsume leaned over and rested her head on his shoulder. I'm fine with whatever, she said calmly, moving her head around to get more comfortable. And you can just call me Mei if you want, Izuku. It's not fair if I get to call you by your first name but you can't call me by mine. Izuku was initially surprised by Hatsume's action. He's used to her getting really close to him unintentionally and to tease him, but she's never done this before. Or are you sure you want to do this now? What if someone else walks in? Don't worry about it, Izuku. So what do you say? Should we continue with TV? Oh okay, Mei, Izuku said. Hatsume smiled at the use of her name and turned her head to the TV. The two sat on the couches watching TV for another few hours, until the sun began to set. Izuku and Hatsume didn't do much during that time. They talked a few times, and laughed at the funny moments on the TV show they were watching, but for the most part they just enjoyed their company. At one point, Izuku had leaned his head over and rested it on Hatsume's head, causing the girl to blush. Izuku was still blushing and shaking at that point, but he was getting used to it. As the light of the setting sun shined through the windows of Class 1H's dorm, Izuku finally thought that he may have been there for a while. He pulled out his phone and checked the time. It read 6:47 p.m. Oh crap, I've been here for ages. I'm sure everyone else is worrying about me, Izuku said suddenly, startling the girl next to him. True enough, he had a few messages from Uraraka and Ida asking where he was. I should probably go. Are you sure? You could always stay here with me, Hatsume suggested. Besides, I'm sure that your friends will be fine if you just told them where you were and what you were doing. But if you want to go, you can. Don't let me keep you here. It would be nice to stay, but how much longer would I stay for? I would have to leave at some point, right? You could stay as long as you want, even overnight, if you really felt like it, Hatsume said. Though, I don't know where you would sleep. Everyone else would probably force you to sleep in my room. Izuku blushed at the thought. I don't think that's a good idea. I'll probably just leave soon. Sorry Hatsume, I mean Mei, maybe next time. Hatsume blushed, but then smiled deviously. Ah, so you want to do this again? You liked spending time with me, huh? Why yes, we're friends, and I like to spend time with friends, Izuku replied nervously. Good, because I like spending time with you too, Hatsume said, walking closer to Izuku. There was now barely any space between the two. Bye Izuku, we should definitely do this more often. Izuku began to blush a lot more than he was before. Why yeah, definitely. Izuku was standing as straight as Ida would usually, and was nervously sweating. Nevertheless, Hatsume moved even closer and wrapped her arms around the nervous boy. She nuzzled her face into his chest, causing him to freak out silently. Oh my god, what is she doing? Izuku's mind was going all over the place as she hugged him. Not long after, she released her hold on the boy. You know, you're kinda bad at this, she said, causing Izuku to gasp. You're meant to hug back, you know. I guess there's always time to improve for next time. Why yeah. Anyway, you should get going. It's almost dark out, and you should be in your dorm by now, Hatsume said. Bye Izuku, I'll see you tomorrow. Why yeah, bye. Thank you for having me over, Mei. Anytime. Bye. Hatsume waved happily to the boy before walking back into her dorm and closing the door. Izuku's heavy blush began to slowly fade from his cheeks as he walked off. His mind was still racing, trying to make sense of the situation. Meanwhile, Hatsume was leaning against the door and blushing just as heavily as he was. Oh my god, was I too forward with him? She said, to no one in particular. I don't think you were. He seemed like he was enjoying himself. Hatsume gasped, and looked towards the elevator where Genru, Altios, and Nakamura stood. What? How long were you guys there for? Hatsume yelled as she tried to cover her blush. For the entire time you were hugging him. Genru replied bluntly. Why you guys really do act out like a couple. It's no surprise to you that people mistake you for one. Nakamura replied nervously. What? Nakamura, you too. I thought Altios was joking when he said you were a part of this group. Hatsume yelled. No, I was fully serious. So, when are you going to ask him out, or are you waiting for him? Altios asked, anticipation in his voice. Hatsume simply blushed harder. I am going to my room, she said suddenly, swiftly walking past the three into the elevator. The doors closed, leaving the three standing there, looking where Hatsume once was. Genru was the first to speak up. Did we go too far? He asked. Nah, she'll get over it, I hope. Meanwhile, Izuku had just made it to his dorm, where Ada and Uraraka were waiting for him. Midoriya, where are you? Uraraka and I have been worried sick about you, Ada said, creating even more extravagant and swift arm movements. Yeah, Deku. You just ran off after class. Why did you do that? Uraraka asked innocently. Oh, I'm sorry for not telling you guys, but I was at Mei's dorm. Ada and Uraraka gasped loudly. We just watched TV together. While I'm glad you weren't hurt, you should have told us to prevent us worrying about you, Ada said. Also, I cannot help but notice that you are referring to Hatsume as Mei now. Why is that? As she insisted that I do that. She always calls me Izuku and she said it was only fair that I call her Mei as well. Izuku stuttered. All the while, neither Izuku or Ida noticed Uraraka's face during the entire conversation. After Izuku had mentioned Hatsume, Uraraka couldn't help but feel jealous, especially when he called her by her first name. Deku doesn't even do that for me. Maybe I've lost my chance after all. Uraraka was jealous. That was something she had found out a long time ago. She was jealous because her crush, Izuku Midoriya, was getting closer to Mei Hatsume, and she didn't like that. All this time, Uraraka simply watched as Deku's and Hatsume's relationship and crushes on each other grew. She wanted to interfere, to bring Deku's attention towards her. Oh, what's the point? Deku doesn't like me, he likes Hatsume. Why should I even try? She thought as she sulked in her room. No, I can't give up now. There's still a chance. That's what that Genru guy said, right? I can't give up on what I want. She had just heard that him and Hatsume were on first-name basis now, and that scared Uraraka. Right now, she was plotting a way to get Deku's attention and love. With her jealousy as her fuel, she sat at her desk and was tapping against her table with her fingers. I've got it. I know the best way to get Deku to love me. Now, it's time to plan. Uraraka gave a mischievous smile as she pulled a piece of paper and a pencil towards her and got to writing. She knew the best way to make Izuku fall for her, but it would take a lot of planning and perfect execution. The next day, school had finished, and Izuku Midoriya was going to follow his usual schedule and go to Mei Hatsume's new personal little room. However, Uraraka had other plans. As they left the class, Uraraka followed Izuku and caught up to him before he went anywhere. Hey Deku, wait up. The man in question turned his head to see Uraraka running up towards him. Uraraka, what's up? Midoriya asked. I have something to ask you. Uraraka said nervously. Would you like to come with me to this arcade? An arcade? When? Oh, was thinking that we could go in now. You unless you have other plans. I wouldn't want to interrupt your plans. Uraraka said. Well, I was going to go visit Mei. Midoriya began. Great, he's picking her over me again. Uraraka thought as Izuku spoke. But I could spend the rest of day with you instead. Midoriya exclaimed. Oh, I see. Wait, what? Yeah, I spend a lot of time with Mei. I'm sure she'll understand. Midoriya explained. Oh, I'll just text her now to let her know, then we can get going. Okay, thank you for coming with me. Uraraka said happily. Yes, phase 1 complete. No problem, it's what friends do, right? Midoriya pulled out his phone and began rapidly typing. And send. All right, let's go. Okay, we're gonna have to take the train first. The arcade is pretty far away from here. Uraraka said, smiling from ear to ear. Hatsume was eagerly waiting for her crush, Midoriya Izuku, to meet her. She was getting closer and closer to the boy, and that made her happy. Finally being able to be intimate with her crush was a very new experience for her, but it was exhilarating. She loved the thrill of being close to him, the warm feeling whenever he would compliment her. She was in love. However, her eagerness was soon replaced with disappointment as she checked her phone. She had one unread message from Izuku. It read, Hey Mei, sorry but I can't meet up with you today. I'm gonna go to an arcade with Uraraka for the afternoon. I hope you understand. She quickly replied, telling the green-haired boy that she understood and hoped he had fun on his trip. However, she didn't understand. She knew it was selfish, but Hatsume just wanted to spend time with Izuku, but Uraraka took him away. Hatsume knew that Izuku had a crush on Uraraka. It was obvious ever since she had seen their interactions during the sports festival. At the time, it was painfully obvious that she liked him and vice versa. Because of this, Hatsume began to think about how she would have reacted when she was getting closer and closer to Izuku. She must have been feeling disappointed and a bit jealous to see another girl trying to get with her crush, because that's exactly how Hatsume was feeling right now. She let out a sad sigh and got up. I guess I'll just go back to the dorms. I'm not in the mood to make any babies. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I can't help it. He's always spending time with me. I shouldn't be jealous because he's spending time with someone else. You need to get over this, Mei. You're better than this. Hatsume thought as she walked out of her repurposed room. I just need to get my mind off of this, then I'll be back to normal, right? Here we are, the Tanishimi arcade. Uraraka and Midoriya had arrived at the arcade. The place itself wasn't too special, as it was located in the corner of a row of multi-story shops. However, the Tanishimi arcade was able to sustain itself pretty well. Midoriya had been here a few times as a kid to play the All Might-themed fighting game, which was new at the time. Wow, I remember this place. It's still running. I wonder if they still have the same manager from when I was younger. Midoriya mused. You've been here before. Yeah, when I was younger. Remember when that All Might arcade game came out? I used to come here after school almost every day to play it. I had the highest score on all the arcade machines. Midoriya said sheepishly. Anyway, we should go in. Why yeah, let's do it. Uraraka replied. The inside of Tanishimi arcade was exactly what one would expect when they enter an arcade. It had arcade machines with all sorts of games on them. There were fighting games, claw machines with sweets and plush toys inside, and games where you would shoot enemies with a physical plastic gun. Wow, this place hasn't changed a bit from when I was young. Midoriya exclaimed. Whoa, who is that familiar voice? Someone called. Uraraka and Midoriya turned their heads to their left and saw a tall and thin man with brown hair swept to his right side and a large bushy mustache. Wait a minute, is that you, Mr. Fujiai? Midoriya asked. Ah, young Midoriya Izuku. It's been a while since you've been here. How have you been? I saw you on TV a while ago, participating in the UA Sports Festival. You have a quirk now. Yeah, I was a really late bloomer. Thankfully, with the help of the teachers at UA, I've been able to control my power so I'm not breaking my arms every time I use my quirk, Midoriya said. But enough about me. I'm surprised you're still working here, Mr. Fuji. Mr. Fuji smiled. Yep, I stopped working the counter and eventually bought the place a few years ago. It's been kinda tough since I'm running this place all on my own, but I'm managing. Hey Midoriya, I think some of the old All Might machines still have your high score on them. You wanna check? Yeah, but I wanna introduce my friend first. Ah, of course. I'm Fuji Tadao, and you are? Fuji asked Uraraka. My name is Uraraka Ochako. I got to UA with Deku here. Deku, no offense, but doesn't that mean useless or something? Why would you have a nickname that means useless? I heard someone call him that at the start of the year, and it reminded me of the phrase that means you can do it. I told Deku that, and that's been my nickname for him ever since. Uraraka exclaimed happily, smiling as she remembered the moment. Ah, I see. So, are you two dating or something? If you are, I hope you only have good intentions with my former regular here, Fuji said bluntly, causing Uraraka and Midoriya to blush. Oh, no. We're only F friends, right Uraraka? Midoriya shrieked. Why yeah, just friends. Okay then. Well, don't let me keep you. If you two want to check out the All Might games, they have their own row by the back wall. Have fun you too, Fuji said as he walked off. Okay, bye Mr. Fuji, Midoriya replied. So, what do you want to look at first? I kinda want to see that All Might game, Uraraka said happily. I wonder if you still have the high score like Mr. Fuji said. I mean, surely someone else would have come in and beaten it, right? If it is still there, then it must be a really good score. Well, I wouldn't say that. The last time I played the game here was when I was at least 8, so my score has probably been overwritten by someone else, Midoriya said as they approached the machines. As explained earlier, Tanishimi Arcade wasn't big, so the back wall was only a few meters away from the main entrance. The All Might themed arcade game, titled All Might, the symbol of peace, was a real hit amongst the children when it was released. Tons of machines that played the game were released. In Tanishimi Arcade, the entire back wall was lined with these machines, and a young version of Midoriya had played each one. Now, Uraraka and Midoriya made their way to the machine on the leftmost side of this line. The screen had a pixelated version of All Might flexing behind a large version of the game's title and a smaller text that read "Please enter 10 yen." Wow, this game really takes me back. I remember looking at this as a kid and smiling so much my face hurt later on. Heh, Midoriya said sheepishly. But anyway, let's look at the game. Midoriya pulled out a 10 yen coin and placed it into the coin slot. The game lit up brightly and began playing a heroic 8-bit tune. A pixelated version of All Might jumped onto the screen and yelled, "Choose your difficulty." The options were easy, hard, and heroic. Okay, if I remember correctly, the game puts you in a party of heroes, and you can have 4 in total. You go around the map defeating villains and recruiting more people for your party. You score points depending on how many villains you've defeated by the time you defeat the main boss. The heroes you can have in your party are... Uraraka smiled. Midoriya began muttering about the game. While he was muttering, Uraraka decided to begin the game on her own. After all, the best way to get good at something is to experience it yourself. She selected easy and began. And at the end, wait, you already started? You bet I did, Uraraka said happily as the game loaded. On the screen right now was an All Might sprite, standing by a building. Ah, this is exactly how I remember it. Let me show you how to play. The two spent a lot of their time in front of this machine, playing through the various levels of the game. Along the way, Uraraka and Midoriya were able to recruit Endeavor, Best Jeanist, and Present Mike into their party along with All Might, who you start with. Not long after, the two had completed the game. Nuo, the in-game villain, yelled as he was defeated. Uraraka smiled as the "You win" message popped up on screen, before being replaced with the scoreboard. Whoa, we got 1,000 points, Uraraka said excitedly. Is that a good amount? Yeah, I think so at least. Let's look at the high scores. A message came up, telling the two to enter their name as a 3-digit code, presumably their initials. Uraraka typed "You in" and entered it. As soon as that happened, the scoreboard showed up. At the very top was a player who set their name as Izu, and they had 15,000 points. Yeah, Midoriya said sheepishly. I was sure that someone would have beaten the score. I only got it when I was 8. Well, not everyone was as dedicated to the game as you were, Midoriya, Fuji said from the counter. That's true. I'm almost certain now that you're the biggest All Might fan that has ever lived. I mean, who knows how long you spent playing this game to get your score that high? Well, I didn't have many friends when I was younger, so this was really all I did outside of home. Oh, I am sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up. I'm such an idiot, Uraraka said, waving her hands in front of her in defense before covering her face with her hands. And no, it's okay, Uraraka. Why, you didn't know, so it's kind of understandable that why you would say that. Anyway, do you want to check out some more games? Midoriya said, stuttering once again. Oh, sure. Meanwhile, Hatsume was sitting in her room, acting all sad. That's all she had done since she left her special room, as well. She went into her room, sat down on her bed, and stared at the wall, momentarily sighing. "Ugh, what am I doing?" Hatsume said as she stood up, realizing what she was doing. "The only way for me to get my mind off it is to work. Maybe I'll go pay Power Loader a visit. I'm sure he misses me." Boy, was she wrong. Hatsume was quick to get to the development studio, where she used to work. Something about the trip made her feel happy. Perhaps it was the promise of making babies, as she would call it. Or perhaps it was simply a nostalgic feeling after setting up shop somewhere else and making that place her home. Hatsume didn't know for sure. All she knew was that she was happy. When she opened the door, she smiled when she saw that not much had changed. Everything was in the same positions it was when she left. Although it was a bit more tidy now than the development studio she remembered. Everything was put where it was meant to be. There are no piles of junk that may or may not have contained items that Power Loader would need later on. However, the only constant was Power Loader himself. He was facing the other way, working on something. His head rose when he heard the door open. "Nakamura, is that Power Loader?" began, until he saw who it was at the door. He sighed. There was no mistaking that mess of pink hair for anyone else. "Oh, Hatsume, what are you doing back here? I thought the whole point of having your own room to work in was so you wouldn't come back. You didn't miss me. Also, why did you think I was Nakamura?" Hatsume asked. "Well, that's because." The door opened again. This time, a more timid voice came from outside. "Hello, Power Loader. I hope this isn't a bad time." "Oh, of course not, Nakamura. Come in," Power Loader said. "Oh, okay," Nakamura said as he entered, slowly closing the door behind him. Hatsume. What are why you doing here? I was asking the same thing just earlier," Power Loader muttered. "I just came to talk with Power Loader. What are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm working here now. I heard that there was a spot open for a student to work here, so I thought it would be nice to have somewhere to work in peace, away from most other people. Genru also thought it would be good for me to improve my social skills by working here. Since I'll be around Power Loader and the Hero C class students that come here," Nakamura explained as he hesitantly walked in and settled near a bench in the corner of the room, away from most of the machines that everyone would be using. "Yeah, Nakamura here has been a lot easier to work with. Unlike you, Hatsume, he tends to keep to himself and doesn't toss things he doesn't need onto the ground," Power Loader said as he glared at the pink-haired girl. However, Hatsume was as ignorant as ever and laughed it off. "So, what did you come here for?" "Well, I was just trying to get my mind off some stuff," Hatsume said. "By stuff, you mean what exactly?" It's about Izuku." As Hatsume said that, she heard Nakamura gasp, squeal and drop something, making a loud clang. "That's strange. Usually you'd just keep your problems to yourself. Also, are you sure that I'm the best guy to talk to about this kind of thing? This is girl stuff, right?" Power Loader asked. I couldn't think of anywhere else to go to take my mind off of him. He's gone out with one of his friends instead of meeting up with me. And it's been bothering me ever since he told me," Hatsume explained. "I thought that if I came here, I could work on something and maybe talk to you, and I'll forget all about it." "All right, Hatsume, listen," Power Loader began. "No offense, but you're overreacting. You're obviously jealous because Midoriya's gone with another friend instead of you, which makes me think that he's gone with a girl. You never said that they were anything more than friends, so I don't see why this bothers you." "It bothers me because this girl has known Izuku longer than I have, and I'm afraid that I'll lose him to her," Hatsume yelled, a blush forming on her face. In the background, her and Power Loader heard Nakamura drop something again. "Look, they're just friends, okay? Don't worry about it," Power Loader said, moving his hands forwards and backwards, as if he was pushing something, in a calm-down sort of motion. "There's seriously no need to worry. It may be a problem, but you just have to calm down, roll with it, and bounce back. You're the smartest person who's attended the UA support course for a long time. I'm sure you can do it." "Why, you really mean that?" Hatsume asked. "I'm really the smartest person who's been here for a long time." "Yes, as the person who's had to deal with your antics for at least a month, I can guarantee that." Power Loader smiled. "Now get out of here before you start pushing things off desks and blowing up machinery again." "Thank you, Power Loader," Hatsume said as she turned around. She quickly left the room. Power Loader sighed. "Geez, that girl is a real handful. Midoriya has his work cut out for him." The sun was setting, and Midoriya and Uraraka had finally returned to the UA campus after their little outing to the Tanishimi arcade. The two were walking quite closely to each other, and they both noticed this and were blushing. However, the closeness wasn't the only thing on Izuku Midoriya's mind. He was going through a series of events that a regular high school student goes through all the time, deciding who you have a crush on. For a regular high school student, this kind of thing would have happened at least once already, so they would be prepared for that kind of thing. But not Izuku. He's no regular high school student, nor has he done this at least once before. He's a hero in training who's never made enough ties to people in the past to have a crush at all. The two girls on his mind were Mei Hatsume and Ochako Uraraka. He liked both of them considerably, but he couldn't decide who he liked more. Both girls were nice, funny, and were able to tolerate his mumbling and muttering without walking away from him. They both had features that Midoriya admired and liked, both personality features and physical features. His mind was racing with probabilities. His racing mind was stopped when Uraraka stopped walking and Midoriya felt her warmth go away. Uraraka, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Deku. I just wanted to talk to you for a bit before we get back. Is that okay? Uraraka asked. Yeah, oh okay. What did you want to talk about? Well, it's about Hatsume, Uraraka said. Midoriya began to tense up a bit. I just wanted to know, how do you feel about her? Do you have a crush on Hatsume? What? And no. I don't know. That's a bit of a strange subject for me. She's nice and I really like being around her, but I don't know if that's a crush, Midoriya explained. Oh, cool. Well, bye Deku, Uraraka said as she quickly turned around and walked off. That was weird, Midoriya thought. Wait, was she asking me because she likes me? Oh man, I hope not. That would just make it too difficult for me. Things aren't going Midoriya's way. Homeroom was usually the highlight of Class 1A's school day, excluding hero studies of course. During homeroom, their teacher would usually sleep, so that gave the students free rein until proper classes started. Students would talk, walk around, and enjoy themselves in general. For Mina and Toru, this time is spent simply gossiping about members of their class, like regular high school girls. This kind of talk can range from a classmate saying something considered out of character to something really big, like a fight amongst two students. This time, they were talking about something very painfully obvious. Uraraka's feelings for Midoriya. So you've noticed, right, the way Uraraka looks at Midoriya? Toru asked as she leaned on Mina's desk, the movement visible thanks to the sleeves of her shirt. Well, of course I have, idiot. Everyone has. I bet all the teachers have noticed too, Mina exclaimed. Geez Mina, keep your voice down, Toru hissed. I know Midoriya and Uraraka aren't here right now, but that's no reason to yell. True enough, Midoriya and Uraraka weren't in class. Whether it be the will of the gods or simple coincidence, somehow the two were both late to class. Why can't I yell? Midoriya and Uraraka aren't here, like you said, so what's the problem? Mina asked. The problem is Ida. I bet if he catches us talking about classmates behind their backs, he'll go on a lecture. Do you really want to listen to Ida go on about proper conduct for heroes in training again? Toru asked. Fine. I'll be more quiet, geez, Mina said, sighing. Anyway, did you hear about where Midoriya and Uraraka went a few days ago? What's this about Midoriya and Uraraka? Are you two talking about them behind their backs again? Both Mina and Toru froze when they heard Ida's loud and commanding voice from behind them. Oh, Ida. We'd never do that. Right, Mina? Toru asked. Mina nodded vigorously. Do not worry. I hate to admit it, but this time I am interested in what you have said, Ida said softly. Whoa, really? I thought you were against gossiping, Ida. I usually would be, however this will help me with something, Ida stated. I have recently tried to pinpoint what kind of relationship the two have. I had once thought they both harbored crushes on each other, but Midoriya's actions towards Hatsume have made me think otherwise. That's true. Midoriya has been getting a lot closer to that support course girl lately. Anyway, a few days ago Midoriya and Uraraka went to this arcade together, Mina said happily. How did you find that out? Ida asked, waving his perfectly straight arms around comically. She told me herself. She told me that when they got back, she asked him how he felt about Hatsume. She didn't tell me exactly what he replied with, but she looked really sad, so I assumed the worst, Mina explained. I see. So Uraraka does indeed still have a crush on Midoriya, but what about him? Who does he have a crush on? Ida asked out loud to himself. This really isn't something I should invest time into, but it shall put my mind to rest at least. Thank you too. Ida bowed then walked off. Weird, Toru and Mina thought as the class president walked off. Meanwhile, Ida's head was racing. He had been thinking about the complicated relationships between Midoriya, Uraraka, and Hatsume, and how that would affect their interactions inside of class. Ida knew that he had to pick one of the two to back, and he also knew that he could not back both Midoriya and Uraraka at once. He may be a good class president, but he wasn't good when it came to dealing with two sides of the same drama. Ida had thought of all the possibilities. He imagined what would happen if he were to back one person, and that didn't end well in his head. Frustrated, Ida sat down in his seat. He let out a loud sigh as he, for the first time for a long time, slouched down. Tsuyu, who was sitting in front of him, turned in her seat. Ida, what's wrong, Ribbit? Your posture is uncharacteristically slouched, so that must mean something is wrong. I'm having difficulty deciding who to support out of Midoriya and Uraraka, Ida said solemnly. Oh, is it about that love triangle thing I've heard about? Tsuyu asked, receiving a nod from Ida. In that case, I suggest that you try staying uninvolved. You do realize that you can just not involve yourself in their relationship problems and still be friends, right? I don't think it's that easy, Asui. It's Tsuyu, right? Tsuyu. Anyway, I'm sure that it isn't that easy. They're both good friends to me. What if they both come to me for advice? How would I be able to give them both advice without feeling conflicted or influencing their feelings too much? Ida asked, his tone of voice getting louder and louder as a sign of worry. I'm not sure, Ribbit. I never had many friends in school. I still suggest trying to stay uninvolved. Ribbit, perhaps it'll work. Tsuyu suggested, placing her finger on her bottom lip. Of course, thank you for the advice, Tsuyu. Ida corrected his once slouched posture and bowed respectfully. Ribbit, wait, Midoriya has a love triangle. Minta was standing on his chair and flailing around like a madman. Sadly, most of the class ignored him. Why does Midoriya get more girls than anyone else? Why does he get more girls than me? It's not fair. Minta, he's getting girls because he's not a creep, Shiro said as he laid his arms on his desk. Midoriya's actually a nice guy, Minta. He's going around making friends with the girls and not trying to take a peek up their skirts. Well, what's the problem with peeking? Minta asked. Girls don't like it when guys peek under their skirts. Surely you'd know this, Minta, since you try to it all the time, Jiru said bluntly, turning behind her to face the pop-off quirk user, albeit reluctantly. Trust me, I'd know. She's right, you know. I mean, yeah, I'm as surprised as you are to hear that Midoriya's got himself a love triangle, but I'm not surprised that he got one before you did. In fact, I bet you won't ever have a love triangle, Kaminari said. Shut up, guys. It was hard enough coping with the fact that Midoriya got some before me, you're just making it worse. Minta cried as he sat back down and pushed his head onto his desk. I personally believe we should just stay out of Midoriya's personal business, Yaoyorozu said from her desk. While I am glad he is on the way to finding happiness and wish him the best, it would be helpful if we were to stay out of it. Midoriya is a very competent student and a valiant hero. Surely he can handle his own problems if they show up. Like hell he will. Deku's a useless piece of trash. He can't do shit. Bakugo's loud screeching could be heard all across the class. It's a miracle that Aizawa can sleep with Bakugo's yells and Ida's equally loud yells. He wasn't even able to stand up for himself in middle school. Why does everyone think he has a chance with anyone? I bet fucking Roundface and that tech bitch in the support course only like him out of pity. Good morning, everyone. Everyone stopped talking when they heard Midoriya's voice. They all looked towards the door and saw the green-haired boy standing there, waving and smiling. Sorry I'm late. I guess I overslept. Everyone was silent. Ooh, guys, is something wrong? And no, shut up, Deku. Line. Meanwhile, pretty much the same thing was going on over in Class 1H. Their homeroom teacher had left in preparation for their next class, so the students were able to walk around and talk to their heart's content. In one corner of the class sat Yasukura Genru, Altios Vega and Nakamura Tomohisa. These three people are the self-proclaimed closest friends of Mei Hatsume, and usually talk about whatever's been bothering her during homeroom. Well, she came into the Development S studio a few days ago. She talked to Power L Loader about Midoriya. I couldn't help but listen. Nakamura explained. What did she say? She said that HEHH had cancelled one of their meetups after S school so he could go S somewhere with a friend. She was really jealous. Nakamura explained to the other two. Altios lowered his head. Sounds like she was overreacting to me. That's what Power Loader S said as well. I guess it cannot be helped. Betas tend to get overly attached to things, from what I understand, Genru stated, placing his hand over his chin. Do you think we should interfere? I don't think so. She can handle her own problems, right? Altios asked. Also, why did you drop Hatsume's nickname? I once tried to make nicknames for everyone, but sadly I don't have enough creative talent for that kind of thing. Or it could be that the author is lazy. Genru replied. What? Never mind. Anyway, I agree with what you saw, Vega, Genru said, completely ignoring his previous statement. Mei should be able to handle herself. Hey, what's this about Hatsume? A rough voice asked. Genru turned and saw Akira Akue leaning on his chair with his feet on his desk. Boyfriend troubles. She shouldn't be distracting herself with that stuff. Before she knows it, her grades will drop and I will reign supreme as the best student. Genru sighed. Akue, not everything is a challenge. Huh, is that a challenge? I'll show you. I will be the best in this class and that's final. Akue yelled, slamming his fist onto the table. Akue was the most aggressive person in Class 1H, and he was one of the most talented. He had an inborn talent for inventing. And that talent was beaten by one person only, and that one person was Hatsume. Genru's sweat dropped. Right then. Guys, can you stop talking about me like I'm not here? Hatsume asked. It turns out that she was sitting at her desk the whole time, tinkering. She was usually loud and upbeat, so everyone was surprised to see that she was being quiet and avoiding direct attention. What? Hatsume's been here the whole time? Akue asked, clearly as surprised as everyone else. Yeah, that's right. No offense, but it's kinda rude to talk about people behind their backs, Hatsume said. I'm usually oblivious to things like this, but I still know. Sorry, Hatsume. Line. The day goes on without a hitch, and soon the students are free to have their lunches. Midoriya is currently sitting with Uraraka and Ida when a familiar face greets them at the table. Izuku. Hey, how's it going? Hatsume asked. Mei. I thought you would be in your room. Also, you really need a name for that place. It's kinda annoying just calling it your room, Midoriya said, initially surprised. Midoriya. Mei and Ida failed to notice Uraraka's face tighten up in annoyance. I thought it would be nice to get out and about. Maybe taste the food that Lunch Rush has to offer here, Mei exclaimed happily. But you don't have a tray. How will you taste the food? Simple. I'll just have some of yours. Midoriya let out a small scream in surprise. Uraraka let out a small gasp, and Ida simply looked up from his former stoic pose. What? You heard me. Now make some room. I'm coming in, Mei said as she sat down next to Midoriya and shuffled closer to him. There we go. Hand me some chopsticks. But I've already used my pair, Midoriya said weakly. It's fine, I'll use yours. Before Midoriya could protest, Mei picked up his chopsticks, grabbed some food, and shoved it into her mouth. The ninth inheritor began to blush and shake nervously. What? She's using my chopsticks, Midoriya yelled in his head. That was nice. Man, I've really been missing out on this, Mei said happily as she took some more food and placed it into her mouth. Oh, Ida, how are you doing today? Hatsume, I'm doing well. Yes, well, thank you for asking, Ida said calmly, his arms unnaturally still. That's good. Say, you don't still hate me for using you during the sports festival, right? I've thought about that, and I have come to the conclusion that I do not, Ida stated. While it was cruel at the time, you used what you had to sway the competition in your favor. Once I saw it like that, I felt a sense of admiration towards you for your tenacity. Mei giggled and blushed. You flatter me. Mei looked towards Midoriya, who had just finished wiping the ends of his chopsticks and began eating again. That was when an idea popped into Mei's head. The kind that would be a cruel attempt to tease Midoriya, but also a way to get closer to him, in a way. The perfect plan. Mei, why you're staring, Midoriya said, breaking Mei out of her little trance. Midoriya, Mei yelled. Why yes, feed me. Midoriya's jaw almost dropped to the table. What? Mei began to laugh. I didn't expect you to respond like that. She was gripping her stomach and laughing very loudly, earning a few looks from bystanders. Meanwhile, Uraraka was just as surprised as Midoriya was, and surprisingly Ida was smiling and struggling to keep a few small laughs down. Mei, why you can't just ask and stuff like that? Midoriya stuttered, blushing like mad. I'm sorry, I had to, Mei said. But, I'm serious. I'm hungry now. Can you feed me, please? What did I just say about asking stuff like that? Come on, please. Mei looked up at Midoriya with a pout. The green-haired boy began to blush a bit more and he felt a small trickle of blood running down his nose. See cute, he thought as he wiped the blood away. Fine, Midoriya said, pretending to respond reluctantly. Uraraka's surprised and jealous look only grew larger and larger. Midoriya scooped up some rice with his chopsticks and held them in the air. Mei smiled happily, then opened her mouth. She said as she held her mouth open. Midoriya slowly moved the chopsticks closer until they were directly in her mouth. Mei closed her mouth and smiled contently. I can't believe he did that, she yelled in her head. I can't believe I did that, Midoriya yelled in his head. Mei began to chew her food. Man, that was good stuff. I can't believe you actually did it, Izuku. I thought you would have said no, or passed out on me or something. I can't believe I did it either, Midoriya admitted. Well, thank you for doing it, Mei said, leaning into Midoriya's arm. The boy himself began to blush heavily. It's okay, Mei, he yelled. Cute, he thought as he looked at the girl's pink banana-shaped locks. Well, time for me to go. Izuku, meet me in my place after school, okay? I'm gonna decide on a name and I don't want you ditching again, got it? Mei asked as she got up. Sure, he replied as she began to walk off. Good, bye-bye, she waved as she hurried off. Uraraka and Ida watched her as she left, both friends having large surprised looks on their faces. Are you sure you two aren't dating in secret? Ida, you're not helping. Today was the greatest day for all those in UA. And that day was Saturday. Literally everyone loved Saturdays, even the teachers. On this day, both students and teachers alike are able to sit back, relax, and have a good time. Unless, of course, you're in Class 1A. Between the common villain attacks that have been going on since the USJ incident to generally showing a lot of potential, the students of Class 1A have been hard-pressed when it came to homework. Most students were knuckling down, ready to finish whatever grueling task Aizawa had set for them. The only exceptions to this were the top students, Akaeda, Yaoyorozu, Midoriya and Bakugo, who had already finished and were relaxing. Midoriya himself was texting his close friend and crush Mei Hatsume, all the while wanting to ask her an important question. The kind of question that would take his relationship with her to a new level, and also increase his feelings for her. He wanted to ask Mei on a date. Well, not the kind of date that a couple would go on. Not exactly. The way Midoriya imagined it was like an outing between friends, similar to his outing with Uraraka earlier in the week. They would go out, grab something to eat and just have fun. He hadn't actually stressed the details yet. However, Midoriya was too scared to actually do it. He was completely oblivious to Mei's true feelings for him, and believed that he would be turned down straight away. He'd never talked to anyone like this before UA, and thus had the stories of others to go by. And from what he had heard, attempting this has always ended badly. Midoriya sighed. It was the beginning of one long serie, that was for sure. Line. At the exact same time, Mei Hatsume was thinking the exact same thing. She too had the urge to ask her crush on a date. Though Mei's idea of a date was slightly different to what Midoriya imagined. She imagined it as a proper date, the kind you would see couples go on all the time. They would share a meal, hold hands and all that romantic crap. Though, unlike Midoriya, she was trying to find a way to word it without sounding desperate. She was sitting in the living room in the 1H dorms, hunched over and furiously typing away on her phone. Just like Midoriya, Mei was too scared of rejection. Mei had completely come to terms with her feelings for the green-haired boy, and wished to spend more time with him to the point where she can safely make a move. Her main fear was him not sharing the same feelings and turning her down. Though Midoriya is way too nice to do something like that. After a while of typing, Mei sat up and smiled contently. This should do it, she thought as she pressed the send button. And now she waits, nervous yet excited to see Midoriya's response. Line. Midoriya's phone let out a small ring. The boy in question was quick to open it, eager to see what it was that Mei had sent him this time. The message read. Midoriya began shaking in his seat. I just got asked out by Mei, he thought as he began to squeal. He beamed as he began to reply. Never had he thought that this would happen. Perfectly played off as if he hadn't freaked out and squealed over her message. While Midoriya was shaking and squealing in his seat, someone happened to walk past him from behind. This person looked over at the green boy, terribly confused as to why he was acting this way. The person stealthily looked over his shoulder and read his phone. An invisible hand quickly covered an equally invisible mouth as the person began to squeal happily, just like Midoriya was. Midoriya's been asked out on a date, Toru thought. I need to tell Mina. Toru quickly left to find Mina, eager to share the news, leaving Midoriya on his own, still excited about the possibility of a date. The invisible girl bounced upstairs and jumped on the spot as she waited for the elevator to stop on Mina's floor. Despite all her noise and rapid movements, Midoriya was still oblivious to her presence. As the elevator doors opened, Toru sprinted out as fast as she could, yelling the pink hero's name as loud as she could, not caring about the others who may have been in their rooms studying. Mina, Mina, she yelled again and again. A door opened not too far away from her, and Mina's head poked out of it. She looked considerably unkempt and tired. Ugh, what? I have something to tell you, Toru yelled as she made her stop outside Mina's room, jumping up and down excitedly. It's important, let me in. Mina furrowed her brow. How important? The last time you did this, you just wanted to tell me that you ate something nice. It's actually important, it's about Midoriya, Toru said, a little more quiet this time. Mina's judgmental gaze soon turned into a devious smile. I knew that would seal the deal. Line. Mei didn't know why she did it. She was literally just thinking about reasons why she shouldn't ask Midoriya on a date. But she did it anyway. Now she sat in her room in the Class 1H dorms, thinking meticulously about what exactly the two will do on their date. She had thought of going to watch a movie, which was the most appealing option so far. Movies were quite a neutral thing when it came to events, since there was usually a movie playing that would fit the theme of any outing. Then, of course, was her outfit. Mei's wardrobe was quite restricted since she usually just wears tank tops and coveralls, but that was too casual for a movie date. She'd need some kind of dress, or literally anything more formal than a tank top. Well, for dates people usually wear things like dresses and suits. But the suits are in more of a business casual style since business professional is too formal and anything below business casual could be considered unkempt or unfit for a date. Mei muttered as she sifted through her collection of clothes, desperately trying to find something fit for a date. Then her door opened. Ooh, Mei, I heard you muttering again, are you all right? A voice asked. Mei tensed up and slowly turning around. She sighed heavily and let her shoulders drop. Geez, Amek, don't sneak up on me like that, Mei said as Chiyo Amek entered her room. Amek is one of Mei's closest friends, having known her since elementary school. Shio is the heir to her famous family business, Amake Hero Supplies, which sponsors heroes who heavily use support items during their everyday patrols. I'm sorry, but your muttering is really weird, Amake replied. I couldn't help but overhear something about a date. Has that hero course guy finally asked out? Mei began to blush. And no, that's not it. I asked him on a date. Well, I made it seem like more of an outing between friends. Making the first move, from what I've seen, your man doesn't seem like the kind of guy to make the first move for anything, Shio said as she sat down, making herself comfortable. Anyway, you're looking for clothes to wear on your little date, right? I can help you if you want. Oh, I wouldn't want to trouble you. Besides, shouldn't I pick my own stuff? I don't mind helping, and besides, it seems as if you need all the help you can get, Amake said teasingly. Jokes aside, you need an outfit and I'm glad to help. Once I'm done with you, your man won't be able to resist you. Amake then used her quirk to access the clothes in Mei's closet. Her quirk is called Ruler Limbs and it lets her stretch her arms and legs out to any length within 2 meters. Shio grabbed a handful of clothes and laid them all out on Mei's bed. Let's see what we have to work with here, Amake said as she assessed the clothes. Well, Mei, do you seriously only own tank tops and coveralls? Mei rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Well, they're really comfortable and I can wear them pretty much whenever I want. Well, not now you can't. That's it, we're going shopping for new clothes, Amake concluded as she got up. What? Mei gasped. She wasn't a fan of clothes shopping, which is why she only had tank tops and coveralls. Though they didn't give much variation to her casual wear, it ensured that Mei would never have to spend ungodly amounts of time just figuring out what to wear. That's right, you heard me. You're gonna have to put your weird hate aside if you want to dazzle your date, Amake exclaimed. Look, it'll only take a little while. You trust me, right? Yeah, I suppose so, Mei answered. Amake then tugged at Mei's arm. Well, let's get going. Amake pulled Mei along by her arm with all her strength, with Mei barely able to struggle. Well, okay, don't pull my arm so hard. It hurts. Line. Meanwhile, Midoriya was just about to leave the dorms when he ran into Uraraka, acting odd. Deku had noticed that his brunette friend was acting differently lately, though he didn't want to say anything in case it had something to do with a private affair. Currently, she was standing in front of the main doors that lead in and out of the dorms, as if she knew someone was going to be leaving at some point. Oh hey, Uraraka. What's up? Hey Deku. Where you going? Uraraka asked, her voice devoid of its usual brightness. Midoriya squirmed at how empty her voice sounded. I was gonna go buy some more clothes. Why? Midoriya asked, beginning to sweat nervously. He had a hunch that Uraraka was jealous because he was spending more time with Mei. Though, something like that didn't make sense in Midoriya's mind. Uraraka isn't the jealous type, right? What for? Uraraka asked, her voice slowly regaining the bright tone that it usually has. Oh, just in case, you know. I was gonna buy something more formal in case I have to go to a fancy place, Midoriya said. He didn't like lying to his friends, but at least this was a half-truth. Oh, okay. Show me what you bought when you get back, okay? Uraraka asked. Sure. Bye, Uraraka, Midoriya said as he left, wiping the sweat from his brow as the door closed behind him. Uraraka watched as Deku's silhouette disappeared into the distance. Sighing sadly, she was on her way back up to her room when she heard 2 distinctive voices. Yeah, who would have thought? I know, right? Should we ask him about it? See if he's gonna be honest. Uraraka listened to the voices of Mina and Toru grow louder and louder as they approached. Ask who about what? Maybe they're talking about Deku. He was acting a bit odd just then. Nah, I think we should, Mina began, only stopping when she saw Uraraka looking in their direction, as if she was deep in thought. Oh hey Uraraka, what's up? You seemed kinda distant just then. Oh hey, sorry, I couldn't help but hear what you were talking about just then, but only the end. Sorry if I was being nosy, Uraraka said quickly. Hey, it's fine. It's our faults for talking so loud anyways. Toru laughed. I hope you don't mind me asking, but who and what were you talking about just then? Uraraka asked nervously. Oh, we were talking about Midoriya, Mina blurted, much to Toru's dismay. Did you know that he was asked on a date? Uraraka's heart shattered. The pieces were connecting together. Deku was acting odd because he didn't want to share the fact that he was going on a date. He must have been going to buy clothes for said date. As for who he was going with, Uraraka thought it was very obvious. It was Mei. The brunette began to tear up a bit, but held in her tears and gave a happy expression, though her wobbly smile and teary eyes didn't help her look. I need tea to go, Uraraka stuttered as she took off towards her room, tears slowly falling from her eyes. Mina and Toru looked on as she left, confused about what had just happened. Was it something I said? Line. The day had passed quickly, and as the sun was setting, Midoriya stood in front of Class 1H's dorms, the place where Mei had agreed to meet him. The pink-haired girl had organized their outing for him, though she didn't tell the green-haired boy what exactly they were going to do. Nevertheless, Midoriya was excited for what he considered to be his first date with Mei. Midoriya chose to wear a simple white shirt with black dress pants with full black sneakers, with a dark green dress vest over the top. While he waited, he was muttering under his breath as a way to release all the nervousness he had bottled up in his system, and there was a lot of nervousness. What if I'm dressed too formally for a casual outing? Perhaps I should go change. If I use full cowl to return to my dorms, I might have enough time to change into something more casual and return before Mei comes out. But what if Mei dresses more formal than me and I stand out? Maybe I should go get a tie, Midoriya muttered. While the boy was muttering, Mei had already made her way outside and was standing in front of the hero in training as he continued to mutter, almost incoherently. She was wearing a knee-length red skirt and a white sleeveless top. However, the most notable feature on her was that she wasn't wearing those bulky steampunky goggles that she always wore. Mei cleared her throat. Hey Izuku. The boy in question looked up quickly and blushed when he saw not only her standing in front of him but also her choice of clothing. Hi am Mei. How long were why you standing there for? Midoriya stuttered as he tried his best to regain his composure. Mei only giggled at his reaction. Don't worry, I just got here. Now let's go, Mei said firmly, grabbing Midoriya's arm and pulling him along lightly. We're gonna be late otherwise. Where are we going? Can you tell me now? Midoriya asked, following closely behind Mei. No, it's a secret. Trust me, you'll love it, Mei said reassuringly, but the boy didn't feel reassured. Mei had been known to act on a whim, and he was sincerely hoping that she wasn't doing the same thing again. At that exact same time, Uraraka was watching the two walk towards the main gates of UA, her eyes still slightly red from the crying she had been doing for a majority of the day. She wasn't sad anymore, just determined. I've had enough of Hatsume taking my Deku away from me. Once he gets back, I'll give him an offer he can't refuse. Uraraka's once sad face turned to one of determination, and she gave off the same serious aura she did when the sports festival was announced. No one takes my Deku away from me. No one. As she was thinking this, Takoyami was on his way to his dorm. When he turned the corner and saw Uraraka standing there, giving off her serious and intimidating aura, he quickly turned on his heel and walked away. I can wait for a while, he muttered as he walked off. It was the day of the date, the fated day in which the two star-crossed lovers Midoriya and Mei finally go together on a date, and Mei just begin something official between the two. Everyone is happy, except for Uraraka. The once bright and bubbly girl was now in her room, plotting ways to turn Deku's gaze onto her. Despite her mind currently being a place full of jealousy and rage, Uraraka was able to tone it down a bit from when she found out that Mei and Midoriya were leaving for a date. Literally, as soon as she entered her room, she realized how much of a yander she was being, and decided to tone it down just a bit. Even so, she was still determined to make Deku hers. Her current plan was to woo him during the coming days by acting more sultry towards him, but the only downside to that would be her looking too desperate. She had considered just asking him out or going on a date with him herself, but scrapped those ideas since they were both too direct in her eyes. Long story short, she wanted to seduce Deku but didn't know how. She had collapsed at her desk many times, tears streaming down her face as she pictured Deku and Mei on their date, having so much fun. She just wanted to give up, to relinquish her grasp on Deku and let him go to Mei. However, she couldn't. Midoriya meant too much to her and she had tried so hard to get him to like her. She wasn't going to let all that time go to waste. After a long while of thinking, Uraraka came up with the perfect plan. A dastardly plot to take Deku away from Mei so she can keep him. Mei didn't deserve Deku, but she did. At the same time, Midoriya and Mei were sitting down at a dinner table. It turns out that Mei had organized a classic dinner date, but what would happen after was still a mystery. Mei, I didn't think you would set this up. I was thinking that you would just go see a movie, Midoriya said nervously. After all, this was his first dinner date. Who wouldn't be nervous at a time like that? And not that this is bad, just you unexpected. That's good. I wanted to treat you to something new, something you might not have done before. So here we are, eating out together, Mei said happily while browsing the menu. Ooh, they have some nice stuff here. I wonder. Yes, they sell desserts too. You're happy about desserts? Midoriya asked while also browsing the menu. What can I say? I like chocolate stuff. Chocolate is my favorite food, by the way, Mei said. You know, just in case you ever feel like buying me some. Midoriya laughed at Mei's so subtle hints. I'll see what I can do. Well, wait. They sell katsudon here. You're happy about katsudon? Mei joked, using the same line he did earlier. It's my favorite dish. My mother would always make it. There was something about it that I loved, Midoriya explained. A waiter walked up to the two and bowed. Good evening. What will the young couple be having this evening? None of the two were even fazed by the young couple comment, but instead just ordered their food. I'll have katsudon, and Mei will be having Midoriya began. I'll have onigiri. Very well, your food shall be served soon, the waiter said, bowing again and left. Why onigiri? Midoriya asked. Well, I didn't actually know what half of the stuff on the menu was, so I went with something simple. I've learned from experience that sometimes the simplest option is the best, in all situations, Mei exclaimed, dramatically batting her bangs behind her ears. Midoriya began to laugh. I didn't take you for someone who did things the easy way. In fact, I thought you would just work through your problems, like with inventing. Instead of avoiding a problem, you fix it. Well, yeah, I do that too. It's just sometimes even I can't fix all the problems that I find. Their conversations while waiting for their food slowly delved into madness. Neither of them actually knew what to talk about, so they talked about whatever came to mind. Deep down, both teens were happy. It was the start of an amazing night. At the same time, Uraraka was waiting on a couch in the main living room in Class 1A's dorms, glaring daggers at the door. Everyone else was awake as well, but were avoiding her due to her intimidating aura she was giving off. Alright, I just have to wait for Deku to get back. That's when my plan can start, Uraraka thought as she furrowed her eyebrows at the thought of Midoriya. Her plan was to just ask him out on the spot, hopefully forcing him to make a spur-of-the-moment decision and say yes. She knew Midoriya would freak out if something like that would happen to him, and judging by the way he acted around her, Uraraka thought this way would almost guarantee the two becoming an item. She had to admit, this wasn't a very decent plan in terms of moral, but she was desperate. At this point, Uraraka would do almost anything to get Deku, even if it did make her feel bad just thinking about it. Uraraka, someone with Jiru's asked. Uraraka turned her head and saw that almost everyone was huddled into the kitchens. Are you okay? You've been staring at the door for a while now. Or why you expecting someone? Yeah, I am, Uraraka replied using her normal sweet voice, but still retaining the scary aura. See, can you tell us who, Ribbit? Suyu asked, acting more confident than everyone else but still a bit intimidated. That's actually saying a lot, since guys like Kirishima and Sado were also huddled up with them and they were shaking with fear. Oh, I'm waiting for Deku. And Midoriya. Isn't he on a date with Hatsume? Jiru asked. Aren't they going out now? And no, Deku isn't going out with Hatsume. Uraraka yelled, her intense and intimidating aura growing stronger. He's mine. Hatsume can't have her. I'm going to ask him out and he's going to say yes and he'll be mine. What a yandir, everyone whispered. What? Uraraka yelled. And nothing. That's what I thought. Uraraka mumbled as she turned her head around. What you fucks? Stop yelling, I'm trying to fucking sleep. Bakugo yelled. He had just exited the elevator and was glaring intently at everyone else in the room. I could only hear one voice yelling, one annoying fucking voice. Round face, stop waiting for Deku like a lost fucking puppy. He isn't gonna be yours because he's too busy with that lame-ass side character in the support course. Fucking get over it. Uraraka was stunned for a moment, tears brimming in her eyes. No, what? I said. No, I'm not gonna get over it, because I'm not willing to give up. Uraraka yelled, tears slowly rolling down her face. You should know what this is like. I'm trying to win, so don't try and stop me, because I'm going to win no matter what. Bakugo looked at the brown-haired girl for a moment, eyes twitching, before walking away. TCH, whatever round face, just don't drag me into your shit. Surprisingly, Bakugo didn't say anything else. He just left, leaving everyone else in a dazed silence. Well, that was odd, Kirishima said slowly, breaking the silence. Yeah, way too odd. First Uraraka acting differently, and then Bakugo. What's going on? Kaminari asked to no one in particular. Meanwhile, Mei and Midoriya's date was going well. The two finished their meals a while ago and had left to go on the second and final portion of their date, watching a movie. More specifically, a movie about the first generation of heroes, a movie that both parties loved the look of. Mei and Midoriya were both on the edge of their seats as the main character of the movie, a hero with a flashy strength enhancement quirk, was fighting the main antagonist to save the love interest. The valiant hero of the story had just sent a super-powered punch in the direction of the main villain, sending him flying into the air. Nuo, I have been defeated, the villain yelled as he flew off screen. The hero smiled and turned his gaze to the woman tied up to his left. The villain has been taken down, and the world is at peace. And all of it was for you, my love, the hero said softly as he untied the ropes around the woman's wrists. You truly are a valiant hero, to repel all villains all across the world for my sake. I love you. The woman cupped the hero's cheek and leaned in for a kiss. The ideal ending for the ideal hero, some would think. Midoriya was reaching for the food that the two of them were sharing when he found Mei's hand in place of the food, positioned coincidentally where the food used to be. His face quickly went red and he looked towards the pink-haired girl, who was looking back at him with a smile and a blush on her face. None of them said anything. They simply looked at each other with blushes growing faster and faster and their hands still interlocked. As Midoriya turned his head to the movie, Mei leaned her head over and placed it on the green-haired boy's shoulder. Midoriya suddenly went tense and his face lit up bright red. A G-girl is leaning on MB. He screamed in his head. Sure, Mei had probably done something similar in the past, but this was different. The green-haired boy felt Mei's head shift, and when he looked towards her he found her looking back at him with a small blush and a smile on her face. Midoriya sent a shaky smile back, his blush growing larger and larger. Mei turned her head back to the screen and nuzzled closer into Midoriya's neck. Feeling it was the right thing to do, Midoriya tilted his head and rested it on top of hers. They sat like that for the rest of the movie, both teens content on staying that way. Line. At the same time, Uraraka was still in her former position on the couches in the dorms. Much to everyone's surprise, she had calmed down a bit and was sitting with Tsuyu. The frog quirk user was almost staring blankly at the wall in front of her and Uraraka had her eyes glued to the doors. Uraraka, what exactly are you trying to achieve by staring at the door? Are you even blinking? Ribbit, Tsuyu asked, turning her head towards her friend and placing her finger on her chin. Uraraka turned her head around also, revealing her crazed and bloodshot eyes. No, she muttered, a disturbed smile on her face. That's concerning, Ribbit. What are you going to do when Midoriya returns? I think he'll be freaked out when he sees your bloodshot eyes and the tears rolling down your face. Uraraka began. I'm gonna do something really risky. When Deku returns, I'm gonna ask him out. I know it's risky, but a big risk leads to a big reward. That isn't always true. However, I can't stop you if you want to do that. I will suggest that you freshen up a bit, maybe wash the tears away and use some eye drops like Mr. Aizawa does, Ribbit, so Midoriya won't be so scared when he gets back. Tsuyu suggested. But what if Deku comes back when I'm not here? Uraraka yells, throwing her arms into the air. Then you can try find him later on. He'll probably just go to his room straight away. Don't worry about it, Uraraka, Tsuyu said softly in an attempt to be reassuring. Okay. Thank you, Tsuyu, Uraraka said while smiling, except this time the smile wasn't disturbing. It was warm and soft, like her usual smile. It's okay, Ribbit. Now go, make yourself presentable, Tsuyu insisted, nudging Uraraka off the couches so she could leave. Uraraka did so, quickly running off to the bathrooms to wash up. As much as I support you, Uraraka, I don't believe you have a chance with Midoriya. He's too infatuated with Hatsume. But who knows, I could be wrong. Vine. Meanwhile, Midoriya and Mei were walking back to the dorms. Just like in the movies, the two had their hands together and were walking close. Though, unlike in the movies, Midoriya didn't have a massive blush on his face. It seems that he was able to calm down and keep his cool while being this intimate with a girl. Hey Mei, Midoriya began. Thanks for taking me out. It was nice, being able to hang out like this. What, you mean just the two of us? Mei asked, looking up at the taller boy. Yeah, just us, Midoriya replied, looking down at the girl with a small smile. I think we should do this more often. I'll take your word for it then, you flatterer. It was nice spending time alone with you too, Izuku, Mei said softly, blushing a bit as she leaned her head on the green-haired boy's shoulder. The two stayed like this until they entered UAS campus grounds, right in front of where all the dorms stood. At that point, the two separated and faced each other, their hands still together. Well, thanks again for tonight. I had a really good time, Midoriya said softly as they stared into each other's eyes. While they stood like that, Midoriya couldn't help but notice how Mei's yellow crosshair eyes glowed in the moonlight. Me too. I hope you keep to your word and take me out again, Mei whispered, leaning in closer to Midoriya's face. She stared deeply into Midoriya's vibrant green eyes as she leaned in, feeling the warmth of his breath hit her face. The two were both blushing like mad, but her nervousness didn't stop her. Their lips were about to touch, but then, Midoriya began. I am sorry, Mei yelled, quickly recoiling before any contact was made. I don't know what came over me. I'll just go, the two said in unison. They abruptly stopped in their tracks as they said that, looking at each other awkwardly. And no, you go first, they said in unison again. No, why you? No matter how much they tried, they couldn't stop talking over one another. The teens stared at each other for a bit, blushes growing on their faces, before letting out a small and nervous laughter. I guess I'll head to my dorm now, Midoriya said slowly. Thank you again, Mei. Why, you don't need to say thank you so many times, you know, Mei replied, laughing at the fact. But it's fine. I'm happy I did, even if it did end a bit awkwardly. Yeah, Midoriya scratched the back of his neck sheepishly. Well, goodbye. Yeah, see you tomorrow, Izuku. And with that, the two went their separate ways. As he walked, Midoriya was freaking out. Yeah, he was getting used to the intimacy that Mei would force him into. But that wasn't a major problem right now. He was mere millimeters away from his first kiss, and a kiss that he was kind of looking for and expecting at the end of their date. He'd seen enough cheesy romance movies to know that usually happens at the end of a date. Though, he didn't know why Mei didn't go through with it. Was it something to do with him? Did his nervousness make her think otherwise? Was his breath smelling bad? Or maybe it was her. Perhaps she was too nervous herself to kiss him. He would never know, not for a long time. The one for all Wielder sighed as he went through the door to his dorm, eagerly awaiting the warm embrace of his bed. However, that was swept away from him as a certain someone ran up to him, yelling almost as loud as she could. "Deku," Uraraka yelled, running up to him with her arms outstretched. "How was your outing?" "It was okay," he replied softly. We had a good time. Anyway, I was thinking of going to bed now, so." "Wait," Uraraka yelled. She took a deep breath, steeling her nerves for what she was about to do. "Deku, will you go out with me?" What?" Midoriya yelled in response. He certainly wasn't expecting that. "Will you go out with me, Deku?" Uraraka asked. "It's a simple yes or no question." "Yes or no. Don't I need time to think?" "No, I need to know now. I can't wait any longer." "So what is it, Deku? Yes or no?" Uraraka asked. Midoriya simply stood there in shock. After a few seconds of silence, Uraraka stomped her feet. "Deku, give me an answer." Yes," Midoriya yelled in shock, unaware of what he had done. "Yes, finally, Deku and I are a couple. Me, not Hatsume but me. OCHAKOURARAKA wins." Uraraka yelled, grabbing Midoriya and lifting him off the ground in a moment of excitement, shaking him around in a bone-crushing hug. Midoriya simply had a tired look on his face. Having a girlfriend didn't mean much to him at that point, nor did the repercussions of his actions. He just wanted to sleep. Opposites Attract Chapter 10 The Aftermath of Ochako. A week had passed since Midoriya and Mei's date, and it was clear to see that within that time Uraraka got what she wanted. Unlike her actions earlier, Uraraka was acting cheerful and bubbly like always, though this time she was firmly planted at Midoriya's side. Anyone who wasn't deaf was able to hear Uraraka's yells of victory once her and Midoriya became an official couple. Even those in Class 1B were able to hear her yells. A lot of people weren't surprised, based off of their interactions in the class and during any outside activities, such as internships with pro heroes. Some, however, were surprised that the timid Midoriya Izuku would go for someone as situationally intimidating as Uraraka Ochako. Guys like Minta and Kaminari were quite jealous that a plain guy like him was able to get a girlfriend before either of them. Guys like Kirishima, Shiro, and Sato were happy for him. Bakugo didn't give a shit and everyone else really cared enough to comment. Hatsume was different in that regard. Of course, given her feelings for the hero in training, she was quite shocked and hurt to hear the news. She was almost certain that he liked her and that they would end up together, especially after what had happened between the two of them on the same night, not even 10 minutes before Uraraka and Midoriya became a couple. Despite her feelings for the green-haired boy, Mei continued to hang out with him as much as she could, though that wasn't much thanks to Uraraka being there all the time. Whenever Mei wanted to talk to Midoriya about anything, Uraraka would be there, clinging to the green-haired boy's arm like a leech. Whenever he was out in public, she would be there with him. On this particular day, Mei was feeling courageous enough to sit with the pair during their lunch period, of course accompanied by Ida, who quickly became the unspoken third wheel in their relationship. She could see Uraraka leaning against Midoriya as she approached, their arms linked and laughing, although Uraraka seemed to be more enthusiastic than Midoriya. Midoriya's eyes lit up a bit once he saw Mei walking up to their table. "Oh, hey Mei," he said happily, using his free arm to wave. Uraraka looked up at her also, though her look was more of a glare that sent a small chill down Mei's spine. "Oh, you're here again." "Hey," Uraraka muttered, trying very poorly to sound happy. "Uraraka, you shouldn't sound so displeased when addressing your friend," Ada scolded, once again comically waving his arms around as he usually does. "We are heroes in training. We cannot address people like this, even if it is someone you do not particularly enjoy talking to, like media reporters." "Of course, I'm sorry, Ada," Uraraka replied. "It's nice to see you, Hatsume." Mei could tell that she still didn't mean it, but at least she was taking Ada's words to heart. "Thanks, Uraraka. It's good to see you too," Mei replied, using the same fake happiness that Uraraka used, much to her chagrin. The pink-haired girl took a seat opposite to Midoriya, and she couldn't help but notice how Uraraka's grip on his arm strengthened. Ida also noticed this, and sweat dropped. He wasn't an idiot. He knew that there was a lot of tension between the two girls, mainly due to their shared feelings for Midoriya. There had to be something he could do to rectify this. The blue-haired boy cleared his throat. "So, Mei, how are your inventions coming along?" "Oh, how could I forget? My babies are coming along just fine. Though lately I have been a bit distracted," Mei commented, sneakily sending a loot Midoriya's way. "He may be taken, but that won't stop her from trying to get Uraraka's nerves." "What have you been making lately?" Ada asked, seeing the look Mei made and trying to avert attention from it. Oh, the usual stuff. Power armor, capture and restraint tools, movement enhancing things, that sort of stuff. Mei explained. Right now, I'm working on an MK2 for the anti-gravity boots I used during the sports festival. It's coming along quite well. I'm glad, Ada replied before going back to his lunch. He couldn't help but notice the silence that followed, broken only by the sounds of chopsticks colliding and Uraraka mumbling as she nuzzled closer into Midoriya's arm. Not too long ago, Ada was having trouble on who to support when it came to their feelings. He was close friends with both Midoriya and Uraraka, and it was tough for him to decide which friend would be prioritized. Now, he was sure that problem was out of the way. While he was still close with Uraraka and Midoriya, he could tell that Midoriya didn't like Uraraka as much as he let on, and he could almost guarantee that the two would break up at some point in the following week, as depressing as that sounds for the two of them. If he was in Midoriya's situation, he wouldn't blame him for not liking Uraraka that much, especially how she's been acting. She made no secret about their relationship, and she was quick to latch herself onto her new boyfriend whenever a girl came close. He was almost certain that if they went on the way they did any longer, Uraraka would try stop Midoriya from talking to any other girls at all, probably including his own mother. So, Mei began. How have you been, Izuku? I barely hear from you anymore. Oh, I've just been. Be busy. Why yeah, just busy, Midoriya replied, tensing up a bit. Busy with me, Uraraka added, gripping onto Midoriya's arm a bit more as she yelled. All right, Mei replied. Indeed, those two have spent a lot more time together since they started dating. I feel that in time Midoriya may break out of his uncomfortable shell he has. Ada lied. It hurt to do so as well. Ada was a generally very honest man. Hey, I'm not that uncomfortable around people, Midoriya retorted. I disagree, Midoriya. Even now you are stuttering, and we are your friends. There is no reason to be uncomfortable around us, and yet you still are, Ada commented. Have no fear, though. I believe I speak for all of us here when I say we don't dislike your stuttering. It is just one more trait that makes you who you are. But why you want me to stop? It's complicated. Don't worry, Izuku baby, I think your stuttering is cute, Uraraka commented, causing the green-haired boy to blush slightly. Izuku baby. Yeah, what's the matter? You don't like the name? Uraraka asked, looking up at Midoriya innocently. And no, IW was just surprised, Midoriya replied, placing his hands up in defense. Good, Uraraka said, placing her head against Midoriya's shoulder once again. All the while Mei was sitting there watching the scene unfold, jealousy beginning to brew within her talented mind. So this is how Uraraka must have felt. This is awful. Line. At the end of the day, Midoriya was quite eager to visit Mei at her support room thing. However, it seemed as if Uraraka had other plans. Once again, just like every day after school ends, Uraraka would drag him off to their dorms to sit in the living room and do the same thing they do during their breaks, hug. That's the extent of it too. They would just sit with their arms around each other for the whole time. Midoriya wasn't as annoyed as one would think he would be. He just missed hanging out with his friends. He was able to hang out with Ida sometimes and occasionally guys like Kirishima, but never any of the girls, namely Mei. Over the course of the week, Midoriya began seeing less and less of the pink-haired inventor up until the point where they could only talk during lunch, and even that was becoming rarer each day. Currently, Midoriya was having another mental crisis. He missed being able to hang out with all of his friends, and he was thinking back to the moments when that changed for some reason. When one sinister thought hit him, it was all Uraraka's fault. Part of Midoriya knew that Uraraka was the reason why he had been separated from all of his friends, the female ones specifically. He didn't want to believe that. It would ruin how he thought of Uraraka for a long time. Midoriya had liked Uraraka for a long time and was very surprised when she came up to him a week ago to ask him out. He thought that one moment was a miracle, and he didn't want to ruin what the miracle had brought for him. Then he began to think of what would happen if he chose to completely ignore this turn of events. For one, Uraraka's actions during the past week led the green-haired hero to believe that her control over his actions would only grow at the same or a faster rate, up until the point where the only person he would be able to talk to was her. He also thought that she would get more and more aggressive, more so than she already was. Her attachment to Midoriya caused her to get very territorial, for a lack of a better word. She would raise her voice and use her signature scary aura to scare of any girls that dared to get close, and Midoriya feared that this would only grow. That of course led him to think about what would happen if he did address the issue. He mainly feared that Uraraka would feel offended and leave him just like that, though part of him thought otherwise due to her now occasional niceness. No matter how Uraraka would act towards him, he still liked her and valued her as a friend. Midoriya wasn't willing to let that go. Once again, he was in a position where he needed the advice of a trusted friend, somebody who, in Midoriya's opinion, would help him overcome his trouble and lead him to success. There weren't many of those people that he could go to. Usually he would go to his three closest friends, Uraraka, Ida, and Mei. Naturally, those three were ruled out in this situation. He couldn't go to Uraraka since she was the problem. He couldn't go to Ida as he would either be put in a similar mental situation to himself or scold him for thinking such slanderous things about his significant other. And he couldn't go to Mei since Uraraka was pretty much preventing him from privately talking with any other girl. So, like with a similar problem a long time ago, he would go to the next best thing. Time skip. Minutes later, Midoriya was knocking on the door of the teacher's lounge. That's right, he's done what we all expected. He's gone to All Might for help. He knew that All Might didn't have much knowledge with dating, since he told him that himself the last time Midoriya went to him for relationship advice, but he had a feeling that All Might would be able to provide some form of help. After a small wait, the door to the teacher's lounge opened, revealing All Might in his withered form, wearing a suit that was too big for him. You'd think that after being able to walk freely in his withered form that he would get himself some clothes that fit him, Midoriya thought as he looked at his mentor. Young Midoriya, All Might began, I received your message. You need my help with a personal matter again. Why yes, if you don't mind of course. If you're busy then I could come back later. Midoriya offered. No, there's no need. If I was busy then I wouldn't have met you here to help. All Might laughed, before coughing up blood yet again. Come in, sit down and tell me about your problem. Midoriya did so, pulling up a wooden stool and sitting opposite a black couch where All Might sat. So tell me, my boy, what seems to be the trouble? All Might asked, holding out a cup of tea. Well, I don't know if you noticed but Ochako and I are dating. Since last week, in fact, Midoriya said, sipping his tea slowly. I did not. Congratulations, my boy. Is it the problem? To an extent, yes. Well, she's been rather possessive over me recently. Every day after school, and during breaks, she drags me along with her, as she doesn't let me talk to any of the other girls in OR class, and lately she hasn't been letting me hang out with anyone else. Midoriya explained. As he talked, All Might bore a look of shock. Really? I didn't expect that from young Uraraka. She seems too innocent. All Might commented, coughing up blood. I know. Anyway, I was thinking about why I hadn't been seeing much of my friends, and I had a terrible thought, Midoriya continued. I thought that it was her fault that I haven't been hanging out with my friends. As so, I quickly made up my mind to fix that. And this is the problem you were talking about? All Might asked. Why yes. All Might sighed, and rested his chin on his hand. Young Midoriya, you are a caring and innocent person, and I respect that. However, you are very ignorant sometimes. You see, it is her fault. No offense. I take it that her overbearing nature is something you don't like. Why yeah, Midoriya admitted. I see. In that case, you two should talk it out. Establish a middle ground where you two are both happy with and continue your relationship happily. However, it seems that you two are too different and won't function together well as a couple. Perhaps you two should split up. All Might advised. What? But I like Ochako. What if we do break up and she doesn't want to talk to me anymore? She's still my friend and I still want to be able to talk and hang out and stuff, but what if she doesn't want to do that stuff with me after? Midoriya asked, fear slowly sinking into his mind. Calm down, my boy. I'm sure that young Uraraka will see that and I'm sure she feels the same way. I don't know exactly why she's acting this way, but I'm certain that young Uraraka is still the same bright girl that she usually is, the girl that cares for you unconditionally. All Might quickly said, trying his best to calm Midoriya down. Though, may I offer some advice? Sure, what do you think I should do? I strongly recommend that if you and young Uraraka do split, that you should date young Hatsume. All Might advised. Midoriya yelled. There's no need to yell, young Midoriya. I only said this because of what you told me about her last time we met like this. All Might said. You described her as outgoing, funny and beautiful, among other things. I am quite certain that you are in love with young Hatsume, which is why I suggested what I did. Really? Do you really think that I love Mei? Midoriya asked. It's quite possible. I'm not too familiar with love myself, but I've seen enough movies to know that what you feel for her is love. All Might said reassuringly, straightening his back a bit. Are you sure movies are the best things to use as reference? Yes, I'm sure. A hero knows this kind of stuff, my boy. All Might said proudly. Now, is there anything else you need? And no, I should be all right for now. Very good. I hope you take what I said into consideration. And I'll leave you with the same final advice I gave you all those weeks ago. All Might began before bursting into his buff hero form. Follow your heart. All Might's hero form quickly dispersed, leaving the retired hero withered and coughing blood. I will. Midoriya yelled back. Very good, my boy. Now go. Midoriya quickly bowed before rushing off. All Might watched as his successor ran out the door of the teacher's lounge, wiping blood off of his chin. Geez, that boy is going to be a real handful in the future. Time skip. Midoriya pushed the door to the dorms open quickly and fiercely, creating a loud bang that echoed throughout the entire building. Usually he would refrain from doing something like that, to avoid a lecture from Ada, but right now it didn't matter. He was inspired and had something to do. Midoriya, Ada yelled, walking up to the green-haired boy with great speed. Do not open doors with such force. You run the risk of breaking the glass and injuring yourself, as well as distracting others with the loud sound it made. As a hero in training, we must be alert at all times in order not to add to the already increasing rate of property damage plaguing Japan. Sorry, Ada, I'm just in a rush, Midoriya replied before continuing his journey. What the fuck was that fucking noise? Bakugo yelled, leaning out of the elevator door. I could hear that shit from my dorm room. Sorry, Kaken, now make room, Midoriya yelled as he tried getting past him to get to the elevator. What? No way, you fucking Deku. First you disrupt me, then you try to push past me. There's no fucking way in hell I'll let you past. Shit nerd. Bakugo, please refrain from using such language with your peers, Ada yelled, to no avail. Fuck off, Four Eyes. That was a rude statement, making fun of my need for glasses. Fuck you. Bakugo exited the elevator and walked up to Ada in an intimidating manner. Midoriya didn't pay much attention to what happened next, but instead used this as a chance to slip away. As he punched in the floor number, he could hear Ada's and Bakugo's bickering getting louder and louder. Once the elevator opened on floor 4, Midoriya sprinted out as fast as he could, making a beeline for a certain girl's room. He reached his destination rather quickly, and proceeded to knock on the door as fast as he could. Not too long after the door opened, revealing Uraraka standing there with a bright smile on her face. Izuku baby, what brings you here? Uraraka asked cheerfully, before noticing the look on her boyfriend's face. It was a more serious face, one that she didn't see on him out of classes very often. Izuku, what's wrong? Uraraka, Midoriya panted, the fatigue from running the whole way starting to get to him. We need to talk. Opposites attract 11. It all works out in the end. We need to talk, Midoriya said between breaths. All right, come in, tell me about whatever it is you need to, Uraraka replied hesitantly, opening her door further so her boyfriend could walk past. As she turned around, she could see that Midoriya had already made himself comfortable, choosing to sit on a cushion at the foot of Uraraka's bed. All right, Izuku, what's going on? What is it that you have to tell me? Uraraka asked nervously. Are you talking with another girl? Is another girl talking to you? No, nothing like that, Midoriya quickly yelled. Good. So, in that case, what is it? It's about us, Midoriya said, looking down at the floor. I have made a few discoveries and, with help from a friend, decided to come talk to you about it. All right, I'm listening, Uraraka replied. Well, I was thinking about stuff not too long ago, just about how I haven't seen much of my friends outside of school. A thought came to me about exactly why, and that thought was that it was your fault, Midoriya explained. Ever since we started dating, you've been a bit possessive. During breaks and after school each day, you would drag me along and snap at anyone who tried to talk to me. What? Uraraka asked, her voice becoming a bit shaky. Why you drove my friends away, Achako. The people I care for, the people whose company I enjoy. Now, the only time my friends can talk to me are during classes, so that only limits me to my friends in class 1A. My friends from other classes, like Shinsu and Mei, they barely get to see me now. Even then, there's only a small handful of people here who can talk to me. None of the G girls can. Not anymore, Midoriya continued, his eyes glued to the floor. The worst part about all this is that I'm certain that it's your fault. Izuku, Uraraka said, her voice shaky and tears slowly flowing from her eyes. How could you think that about me? I was only trying to make you happy. I wanted to spend time with you, to enjoy every moment I could with you, as boyfriend and girlfriend. But did that have to involve separating me from my friends? I am sorry, Uraraka yelled, her tears flowing faster now. I didn't mean for this to happen. Every time I want something, I don't act like I normally do. Why, you remember the sports festival, right? How I was determined to win. That's what this is like. I wanted to be with you so badly. I wasn't gonna let anything get in my way. I wasn't in control then, and my mind was too clouded by the image of success. Urachako, Midoriya said softly. I understand that I've gone too far, I really do. Should have done something while I could. But now it's too late, Uraraka cried, wiping her eyes to no avail as more tears quickly came to replace the ones she wiped away. Why, you're gonna break up with me now, aren't you? Midoriya sat silently, still looking at the floor. He couldn't bring himself to look at her, he was too ridden with guilt. He knew that coming here would end in conflict, but he wasn't expecting her to tell him that her actions were pretty much out of her hands. Izuku, Uraraka said, looking at the guilt-ridden boy. He was yet to reply. That was the plan, Midoriya murmured. Uraraka held her hand over her mouth as tears began to form much quicker and her breaths were short and stuttery. Is that it? Then. Do we just break ties and move on? Uraraka asked. Did we just forget we were ever friends? Is that it? And no, Midoriya yelled. I never want to do that to you, or to anyone. Ochako, you may have been a bit overpossessive of me and caused things that why you didn't want to, but you're still my friend. I thought about this for a long time, and I decided that I still want you as my friend, even after we break up. You're an important person to me, Ochako. No matter what happens, that'll never change. Uraraka began to tear up even more. Izuku. For what it's worth, I am sorry for all this. I never wanted to make you feel upset, Midoriya said softly, wiping the tears that were beginning to form in his own eyes and placing his hands on her shoulders in a comforting way. Just wanted to clear stuff up between us. It's okay, Deku. Uraraka replied, looking up into her friend's green eyes. It was good to find out what I was doing before it got worse. Uraraka then walked closer to Midoriya and enveloping him in a hug. Not a strong, bone-crushing hug, but rather a soft one. After a few seconds, Uraraka broke the hug. So, now what? What do you mean? Midoriya asked. What are you gonna do now? Are you going to date someone else? Uraraka asked, still speaking softly. And, are we gonna tell everyone else that we've broken up? I don't know. I am sure everyone's outside listening in. Midoriya joked. Jiru retracted her earphone jack, which was planted firmly inside Uraraka's dorm room door only moments before. I think he's onto us, Jiru hissed, looking over her shoulder. Everyone else sighed and got up. And it was going so well. Somebody muttered as they walked off, their shoulders sagged in defeat. TSHH, that'll never happen. Uraraka joked back. But seriously, are you gonna date someone else now? The person I went to for advice said I should ask out Mei, but I think it's too soon for that, Midoriya said. Mei, I can certainly see why he would suggest that. You two are really close. Remember when we all thought you were dating not too long ago? Uraraka asked. Oh B-boy, don't remind me. But what do you think I should do? Midoriya asked, looking down at his former girlfriend. Well, I think you should do it, Uraraka said firmly. You two are pretty much perfect for each other. I can tell that she likes you a lot, just by the way she acts around you. Even when you two first met during the sports festival, I could see it. Midoriya blushed. What? Mei liking me? What are you talking about? Come on Izuku, can't you see it? It's so obvious, Uraraka yelled, oblivious to the hypocrisy in her question. She's completely in love with you. Even I noticed, and I'm usually bad with that kind of thing. Why you really think so? Midoriya stuttered, this time barely able to begin his sentence. I know so, Izuku. Uraraka smiled. It was the first time during that moment that she had smiled. Oh okay, thank you Ochako. And I'm sorry for what just happened, Midoriya yelled. It's okay, you don't need to keep apologizing. Uraraka laughed. Now, we should get out of here before the others begin to wonder what we're doing. Right. Midoriya chuckled softly, turning to leave. Uraraka watched as her ex-boyfriend opened her door and walked away, leaving her alone. Uraraka sighed. Part of her knew she would miss having Midoriya as a boyfriend, and part of her would feel extremely jealous and envious when she sees Midoriya and Mei hanging out again, potentially as a couple. Though, she knew it was for the best. She had more or less come to terms with that. Meanwhile, Hatsume was sitting in an empty seat in the development studio, where she usually found herself after school these days. Ever since Midoriya and Uraraka got together, Mei had been seeing much less of the green-haired boy, though that was understandable given Uraraka's jealous nature. Even though she understood it, it didn't stop Mei from feeling sad. The development studio became Mei's new hangout zone mainly because her own room reminded her too much of Midoriya, which made her feel even more sad than she would have before. Because of this, she chose to spend time around her old mentor, Power Loader, and her nervous and soft-spoken classmate, Nakamura Tomohisa. Usually she would just sit there doing nothing, or occasionally help out with the odd task around the room or help Nakamura with whatever he was working on. Quite frankly, she hated it. Naturally, she missed having Midoriya around. She missed all of the good times they had together, whether it was during lunch breaks or after school, either in her own tinkering room or occasionally in the 1H dorms. It was beginning to show, as well. For the first part of the week, she was able to keep her jealousy and sadness at bay for the sake of keeping appearances, but by the end of the week she couldn't do it. At the end of every day she seemed more sad than at the beginning, and people were noticing. Hatsume, Nakamura asked, peeking his head up from behind a large stack of toolboxes. Yeah, what's up? I just heard that Midoriya, what about him? They quickly said, cutting Nakamura off and startling him a bit. Oh, sorry. Continue. Oh, okay. I heard that him and Uraraka broke you up. You don't take my word for it though, someone from his class told me. Nakamura explained. He's that really tall guy with 6 arms, Shaoji. We met during the D-dual class thing. Nakamura began to explain in detail how he met with his friend, but Mei wasn't listening. She was, of course, too busy freaking out over the fact that Midoriya is now single again, and she was weighing up her options. Now that he's single, Mei could swoop in and take Midoriya for herself, or she could just wait a bit longer for that and settle with being friends. She couldn't figure out a definitive plan just then. She was too distracted. "Thank you for telling me that, Nakamura," Mei quickly yelled as she got up and left, leaving Nakamura dazed and confused. Mei quickly made her way to her dorm room to calm down. She had a lot ahead of her now, and she was going to be prepared for whatever happens next. Within no less than 15 minutes, Midoriya and Uraraka's breakup soon became the one thing everyone wanted to talk about. It certainly was unexpected to some. Most people looked at the former couple and thought they would last a long time given how they acted around each other before they began dating. To others, namely Takoyami, they knew it wouldn't last. Maybe it was their perceptive observations telling them that they were terribly dysfunctional, or perhaps they were all pessimists. Nobody knows. "Man, I never thought they would break up so soon," Kaminari said, leaning against a wall. "I mean, they both acted as if they were completely in love with each other. Who would have thought? Couldn't you see it? They had something going on behind the scenes, something that probably resulted in them breaking up. Not to mention, Uraraka was acting a bit possessive over him," Jiru commented. "I guess you didn't see it, because you're dense." "Yeah, the way they acted around each other was weird, to say the least," Kirishima commented. "I mean, you guys saw how Uraraka acted, right? It certainly didn't fit her character." Those were the normal comments, the ones most people usually made. Then, of course, there were the other ones. "Oh man, I can barely believe it. Uraraka's on the table again," Minda cried, jumping up and down happily. "Maybe I'll swoop in during her time of grieving and comfort her, then I'll slowly make it up past the friend zone." Minda carried on with his strange speech, though nobody paid him too much attention. Those who did simply looked at the small boy drooling at the concept of dating someone in disgust. "Oh, poor Mademoiselle Uraraka. Though, I'm sure she simply didn't find poor Midoriya dazzling enough. He could certainly learn a thing or two from moi," Aoyama said elegantly, using his hand to brush one of his bangs from his eyes. Kuda, naturally, had no words to describe how he felt about Midoriya and Uraraka's breakup. Maybe he was sad that it didn't work out for them. Maybe he was happy that they were able to keep their friendship going despite whatever went on between them that caused them to break up in the first place. Who knows? For fuck's sakes, why is shitty Deku always being talked about? Bakugo yelled. "It's fucking always Deku this or round face that. It pisses me off." "Bakugo, calm down. It's not too bad," Kirishima intervened, placing a hand on Bakugo's shoulder. Yeah. We could always talk about your shitty attitude instead," Kaminari joked. Everyone looked at him with pity and fear, for he knew nothing of what would happen next. Kaminari's eyes trailed slowly towards Bakugo's, quickly noticing the pure and unsolicited anger within them. Moments later, he found himself running through the halls of the dorms with Bakugo on his tail, letting off explosions and yelling things like "die" or "fuck you," the normal stuff. All the while, Midoriya planned. He knew what his next step was. Both his mentor and his closest and first friend at UA both knew and agreed. Soon, he would do the one thing that everyone thought he would do. He would ask Mei Hatsume to be his girlfriend. Opposites attract. Chapter 12. The end. The day started just like any other day would. Everyone woke up at an acceptable time. Everyone ate and everyone left to attend their lessons. Little did everyone know, however, that Midoriya Izuku was panicking more than normal. For today, he planned on asking Hatsume Mei to be his girlfriend. Naturally, Midoriya spent most of the past few days fretting over every small detail, running all of the worst scenarios through his head and almost backing out at the last second. The green-haired boy had steeled his nerves for the while and tried his best to persevere with his day while those thoughts lingered in his head and distracting him from his lessons. What if, despite what everyone had said, Mei didn't actually share Midoriya's feelings? Perhaps Mei's actions that lead people to believing she liked him were all just an act, or simply her way of teasing him into oblivion. Maybe it was just a really cruel joke that everyone was in on except for him. And it would be revealed at the very end once he confesses his feelings to her, ending in a lifetime of embarrassment for him and a story that he would never be able to live down no matter what. Or it could simply be that he's overthinking it, who knows. Regardless of what would happen, Midoriya was ready. This was his moment, his time to confess his feelings and make everything right again. Everyone will be happy, and that will be the end of it. Though, perhaps he's been thinking about Mei a bit too much. Currently, everyone was in the dorms, going about their businesses. However, they were unfortunate enough to walk in on something truly disturbing for some. Hunched over on one of the couches was Midoriya, muttering his head off. This was no normal muttering, though. Unlike Midoriya's regular muttering, he was speaking at a crazy speed, almost at the point where nobody could understand him. "Holy shit, what is this?" someone yelled. Midoriya was too caught up with what he was doing to pay any proper attention. He's reached a whole new level of strange. He's the master of muttering. Then Midoriya, snap out of it. That was all he needed to hear to break his trance. Midoriya's head quickly shot up and examined the room. It turned out that everyone in Class 1 was surrounding him, watching in fear as he muttered. What's going on? Midoriya asked slowly. You were muttering up a storm over there. Are you all right, Deku? Uraraka asked. They may be exes now, but they're still on good terms. Yeah, I'm okay. I must have been really distracted. Midoriya replied, sheepishly rubbing the back of his head and laughing. I hope you don't mind me asking, but what are you all doing here? Well, I was going to inform you that our lessons for today were cancelled, but I witnessed your more high-intensity muttering and was almost entranced at how a man can speak that quickly. Ada informed, keeping his hands firmly placed behind his back instead of waving them around like he usually would. Yeah, that's a pretty serious thing coming from a guy who speaks faster than all of us. Kaminari butted in from the back of the crowd. Indeed, regardless of my speaking speed, we were concerned for you, Midoriya. Ada finished. Lessons are cancelled today. Why? Midoriya asked. According to the message sent to me by the principal, the school's main power grid was shut off. The surveillance cameras showed that it was a sleepwalking student with a rather destructive quirk getting into places he shouldn't have been. Ada explained. Because of that, all power going to UAS main building has been cut off, so lessons cannot proceed as they would have. Sweet, right? No lessons, Mina exclaimed. She was one of the less talented when it came to intelligence, so she was more than joyed to hear that lessons weren't going to be proceeding today. That may be so, but I won't let you all slack off on a day of learning. I strongly urge that you all study each of your subjects, even if it means finding an empty gym to conduct quirk training. I'll contact Mr. Aizawa to see if I can get a copy of today's lesson plan. Ada yelled, much to everyone's dismay. However, I cannot force you to study. If you truly wish to squander this day on trivial acts, I cannot stop you. Hell yeah, free day, most of the class yelled, each person darting off either to their own rooms or outside to conduct their own business. Those who were left chose to go back to study, like good students. The only person left by the couches was Midoriya, returning to his cycle of thinking. This is perfect. With the lessons cancelled, I can easily take today to spend time with Mei, then make my move. Whoever cut off the power is a true saint, Midoriya thought, screaming internally. Of course, lessons being cancelled was a right shame, but that wasn't important in the situation. Midoriya had a plan and he wouldn't let anyone stop him from achieving it. Hatsume woke up to the exact same news as everyone else. Their class president, Chiyo, received the same message that Ada did and was quite happy to find that their lessons were cancelled. For the support course lessons, having their lessons cancelled wasn't much of a big deal since their lessons really only involved tinkering and building. So either way they'll spend their day tinkering and building. It's a win-win. For Mei, hearing that the lessons were cancelled wasn't much of a big deal for her. Just like the rest of her class, Mei would have spent her day tinkering regardless of whether the planned lessons for today were going to happen or not. However, today's sudden absence of the school timetable would inevitably help Mei with what she wanted to do today. She wanted to patch things up with Midoriya. It was rather obvious that Midoriya's lack of presence in her life recently was due to his relationship with Uraraka, but if the rumors were correct, he's now single. Although not much time had passed since their contact had ended, Mei still felt that they may have lost their old friendship, which in the eyes of a teenager is a very serious thing. So, given circumstances, Mei would do something about it. Her days sitting idly by in her room wondering what their reunion would be like were over. Today she would meet Midoriya and fix everything. Their friendship would be back to where it used to be, and she would continue walking the long and harsh road known as making Midoriya like her. Her morning went along rather plainly, just as it would on a normal school morning. Nobody really talked to each other too much. They just ate and left, except this time it was more leisurely as nobody really had places to be. And, from the sound that came from outside during the morning, so did everyone else. This really worked in Mei's favor. She knew that Midoriya liked to spend his time inside doing simple training or study, so he'd probably be the only one in his dorm room. A man and a woman alone in a secluded area usually lead to romance. Just thinking about it was pumping her up, adding to her motivation to leave and get her plan moving. So today, Mei would steel her nerves and march over to 1A's dorms. Today, Mei would spend time with the person she loves. Today, Mei would make her final move and become Midoriya Izuku's girlfriend, one that would not deprive him of his social life and free time. Or at least, that's what she hoped would happen. Despite her second thoughts, Mei decided to leave. It was still quite early, but Mei figured that the healthy time of 9 a.m. was a perfect time to start her master plan. She marched right up to the 1A dorm doors and knocked firmly. She knew Midoriya was inside at the time due to a shriek being heard from the other side of the door. Not long after she knocked, the door opened to reveal Midoriya dressed in a dark green hoodie and jeans. Oh, hi Mei. What's up? Midoriya asked, his stutter still ever present in his voice. Nothing really. I just wanted to come hang out for a bit since we have the whole day free, if that's okay with you of course, Mei replied, sending the boy a happy smile. It's been a while since we've hung out, so I thought I'd change that. Oh, sure. See, come in. Nobody else is here at the moment, so it'll be just us, Midoriya said softly, moving out of the doorway to let Mei in. Little did he know that this was what Mei wanted, the whole dorms to themselves for perhaps the whole day. That's fine, just means nobody will interrupt us once we start hanging out, Mei replied nonchalantly, making a beeline towards the couches. Suo, what do you want to do? Why, you didn't plan anything in advance. I thought you would have done that first, since you came here wanting to hang out, Midoriya said. He had a point. What were they going to do? Damn it, should have thought this part through more, Mei cursed in her head. She's usually really good when it comes to planning things in other situations. Why is now the exception? I didn't think about that. We could just talk, catch up, Mei suggested. We haven't really talked in a while, and I'm sure a lot of interesting stuff has happened to you in that time. You are in the hero course, after all. That's true, a lot of stuff does happen to me in my class. It's like we're the protagonists of an anime, Midoriya joked. Yeah. Either that or the protagonists of a poorly written fanfiction, Mei followed, following along with Midoriya's joke. But jokes aside, we should really catch up. Yeah, I think so too, Midoriya replied, flashing Mei with his bright smile. Mei couldn't help but smile back. It was her natural reaction after seeing Midoriya smile. His smile just filled her with happiness. It was contagious. Meanwhile, all of Class 1 were huddled around a phone in a public park. Ada, who was holding the phone, took a moment to readjust his glasses. I feel very dishonorable for doing this, but there is no other way, he muttered, looking towards the ground in shame. Don't worry about it. This really is the only way to get those two together. Also, try not to look too dodgy in the park. The last thing I want is you guys to get pulled up by the police for suspicious behavior. The voice on the other end of the phone, which belonged to none other than Jiru, advised. I'll keep you guys posted on what they're doing. Very well, Jiru. Here are ears on the inside. Don't fail us, Ada said enthusiastically. That's right, they were spying on Midoriya and Mei. Everything that had happened today was meticulously planned by most of 1A, even the convenient power outage in the classrooms. Their plan was flawless. Step 1 was to have a student go into the power generator room and bust it up. Step 2 was for everyone except Jiru to leave the classroom as soon as the no-school announcement was made. Jiru would stay in her room, under the guise of study, to eavesdrop on Midoriya and Mei's conversations and report back to Ida via a phone call, which would take the longest as the two might hang out all day. I'll admit, I was kind of apprehensive when you guys told me about this plan, but it's turned out to be quite fun, Kaminari commented. Indeed, it's for the greater good as well, so that alone has reassured me about these actions, Takoyami replied, choosing to sit on a low-hanging branch on a nearby tree. Some thought that to be quite comfortable for him. No matter how good our actions are and no matter how fun this may be, I still feel as if I'm betraying Midoriya and Hatsume by doing this. After all, eavesdropping on their conversation, which was meant to be private, is very rude and unbecoming of future heroes, Ada commented, still feeling the shame despite what his classmates have said. Actually, Ada, this could prove useful for later life as pro-heroes. Jiru's quirk allows her to hear things on higher frequencies than any normal human should, and it works very well for eavesdropping. So this task alone could very well help her if she has to partake in any stealth missions, Yaoyorozu commented, holding her finger up in a very matter-of-factly manner. Also, it also helps us for that exact same reason. Relaying information from inside a villain's hideout will prove invaluable in later situations. And this is very good training for it, despite its shameful nature. You're right as always, Yaoyorozu. I see that I still have much to learn, Ida replied, turning to face Yaoyorozu and bowing slightly. All the while, passers-by watched in confusion as a mob of 18 students huddled in a secluded corner. Later, an hour had passed. Ida and Co were still at the same park, except they had moved out a bit and had begun talking to each other in small groups. Ida was on his own for the most part since he was in charge of relaying the information he got from Jiru to everyone else, and needed peace and quiet so he could hear. And peace and quiet isn't something you can have with the students of Class 1A. The rest of the groups were Bakugo, Kirishima and Kaminari, Yaoyorozu and Todoroki, Satu, Kuda, Shaoji and Mainta, Aoyama, Ashido, Shiro and Takoyami, Anjiro and Hagakura, Uraraka and Tsuyu. Ada wasn't too interested in what the groups were doing, mainly because he had the task firmly planted in his mind and was set on getting it done. He had essentially drowned out all outside noise and focused solely on the phone. Sounds like they're watching TV still, Jiru reported, the sounds of said TV being heard in the background ever so faintly. It's really loud. I'm not sure whether you can hear it or not, but I can assure you that it's loud, even more so for me. Yes, I can hear the TV through the phone. What are they saying? Ada asked. Well, they're just making fun of the characters. Sometimes they make links between the characters and a classmate, then branch off for a bit before going back to the TV show. They've been doing that for almost an hour. I can't see how that can be fun. Jiro commented. Perhaps it's not the show that's fun to watch, but their company that's fun to be in. If that makes sense, of course. Ed amused. The show in itself may not be very entertaining or fun to watch, but the two simply being there is making it fun. Simply being in the company of someone you enjoy being around is enough to make any activity a fun one. I guess you're right. Heh, maybe you are smart enough to beat Yamomo. Jiro joked. I wouldn't count on it. Yaorazu is a very smart girl, and I don't have anything that can beat her in terms of intelligence. Dude, that was a joke. It was. Forgive me, I'm not good at deciphering those. Line. Meanwhile, Midoriya and Mei were huddled together on the couches in front of the TV. They were watching some badly made reality show about an auction which neither of the two were awfully interested in. Despite that, the people on the show were funny enough to make fun of. Just as Jiro said, the two had been doing this for a long time. After a while, the two had stopped making running commentary of what they found funny and instead chose to just laugh and point it out every now and then. As this went on, Midoriya had noticed that Mei was inching closer and closer to him, not that he minded. He had hoped for this to happen so they could get closer, and everything was slowly falling into place. This also applied for Mei. She was deliberately moving closer to see how Midoriya felt about it, and she was hoping that he would be okay with it. She knew that each time she moved, Midoriya's head would move ever so slightly towards her as if he was watching her, so she would know whether he was feeling uncomfortable. Surprisingly though, he felt fine with it, so she kept inching closer and closer. Okay, just a little bit more, Mei thought, shuffling over just the smallest bit. Okay, she just needs to move a little bit closer. Midoriya thought as a plan hatched within his mind. Within moments, Mei had made the final shuffle and their arms collided. Midoriya froze up a little, even though he could feel Mei's body heat through that simple touch. This was when Midoriya's master plan came into play. Mei only noticed when it was too late. Somehow, Midoriya had managed to lift his arm up from under Mei's and into the air. When Mei looked up, the last portion of his plan was completed. Midoriya lowered his arm and neatly placed it behind Mei's head and over her shoulders, his hand falling limply on her upper arm. It was Mei's turn to freeze up now. Mei, is this all right? Midoriya asked hesitantly. He may have thought that putting his arm around Mei was a good idea before he did it, but he wasn't sure whether Mei would be for it or not. And judging by her reaction, he wasn't sure whether it was the right move. Oh, why yeah, it's fine. I was just surprised. It's not like you to make moves like this. Usually I'm the one doing it. Mei replied jokingly. Yeah, you're right about that. I just wanted to do the same, too, Midoriya said, his voice slowly failing him towards the end of his sentence. What did you say? Mei asked. You wanted to do that to me. Yeah. Mei didn't know how to feel. Part of her was really happy, since Midoriya had pretty much said he wanted to get closer to her. Though, part of her thought he was just teasing her, getting her back for all the times she's done it to him. Are you just doing this to tease me? To get revenge for all the times I've done it to you? Mei asked, doing her best to sound sincere. She's been known to not sound very serious in serious situations, so she wanted to make sure she wasn't kidding around. No, that's not it. The truth is that Midoriya began. Well, it's now or never, I guess, he thought as he uttered the rest of his sentence. I like you, Mei. Line. Holy shit. Jiro yelled, startling the resting Ida. What's happened? What was so shocking that you used such awful language? Ida asked. Midoriya just confessed. He just said I like you, Mei. Jiro reported. Ida's jaw dropped. Holy shit, he yelled. I shouldn't break the rules I set myself, but now is a perfect exception. Everybody, Midoriya's just confessed his love to Mei. A collective shout of holy shit echoed throughout the entire park. It seems love has finally won in the end. Aoyama yelled, gracefully firing his naval laser into the sky. That's my boy Midoriya. Kirishima cheered, raising his fist into the air triumphantly. Everyone else followed suit, raising their fists into the air and yelling yeah. Line. What? Mei was in absolute disbelief. Despite this being what she wanted to happen, she was still shocked that Midoriya was the one to confess and not her. I like you, Mei. In truth, I've had a crush on you since after the sports festival. At first, I was intrigued by your intelligence, but now I'm drawn to something completely different. Once I got to know you, I was surprised and attracted to your sense of humor, your thought processes, and the things you do in general. Midoriya confessed. Mei was still in shock. Midoriya lifted his arm off of Mei and nervously shuffled over a bit. I mean, it's not just that. Why, you're also very beautiful, too, Midoriya muttered. That sounded weird. Oh no, now you're gonna think I'm weird too. I'm not like Mainta, and not that Mainta is a bad guy, but he has those weird tendencies. Midoriya began muttering again. How typical. Mei couldn't help but smile at him muttering like crazy while fiddling with his hands in a mindless manner. It seems that he can't stop being himself, even in the most tense situations. It's just so strange, Mei. Why are you looking at me like that? Midoriya asked, his muttering slowly stopping as he noticed Mei's gaze focused on him with a large smile on her face. You don't need to explain all that to me, Izuku, Mei said, moving in closer to him. She wrapped her arm around Midoriya's neck and pulled him closer, using enough force to give him the hint but not enough to hurt. Her head was inches away from his. She could feel his breath hitting her face, which was also a clear sign of his nervousness. Midoriya knew full well what was going to happen. He placed his hand behind her head, and Mei smiled. Wordlessly, she bridged the gap between the two and connected. They kissed. It was a relatively quick kiss, just a peck that lasted for a few seconds. That didn't stop both Midoriya and Mei from enjoying it. They separated and looked each other in the eyes. I like you too, Izuku. Mei was excited. Today she would be going to the home of Izuku's mother, at her request of course. From what she knew, Midoriya grew up with just the influence from his mother due to his father's busy job that required him to be out of the country. Probably why he cries so much, Mei joked as she walked towards his boyfriend's mother's home. Her boyfriend walking next to her with her hand in his. It seemed that, for once, Izuku wasn't nervous but instead excited. He hadn't been able to see his mother all too often between schoolwork and his internship with Sir Night-Eye, so today must be a great day for him. Mei, we're here. Izuku stopped walking and pointed to a large apartment complex just across the road from them. It was a standard-looking complex. 3 separate buildings which were all a few stories high and each containing around 10 apartments. This is it, Mei joked, nudging him on the arm. Which one of these is yours? Oh, right. Follow me, I'll take you there, Midoriya said, softly taking a hold of Mei's hand once again and guiding her towards his apartment. He guided her across the road and up a long flight of stairs before reaching the apartment. It was one of the ones on the highest floor. Is this the one? Mei asked, pointing to the door they were about to stop at. Yeah, this is it. I just want to warn you about something first, though, Midoriya said. He leaned in closer to Mei, holding his hand in front of the door as if someone is there. My mother, she can get a bit protective sometimes. Try not to get on her bad side. Bad side? Mei asked hesitantly. Midoriya, seeing her hesitance, was quick to reassure her. Oh, don't worry though. I'm sure you and my mom will get along great. Seriously, she's really nice. But what if your mom doesn't like me? Sure, you said she's a nice person and if she's anything like you then I'm sure she is. But what if I do somehow get on her bad side? Mei asked. She realized that worrying over something like this was pointless, but she couldn't help it. Midoriya and Mei haven't been dating for very long. A lot of this was uncharted territory for both of them. It'll be fine, Mei. Just act how you do normally, Midoriya advised, placing a hand on her shoulder in an attempt to comfort her. What if the way I normally act is bad? Well, it got me to like you, so it can't be bad, Midoriya replied. You're a real charmer, you know. I do my best. Now, let's go, Midoriya said as he turned away from Mei to knock on the door. As he did so, Mei could hear a little surprised shriek. See coming. A feminine voice called from beyond the door. This person's footsteps could be heard getting louder and louder until the door opened. In front of the door was a short, plump woman, only inches shorter than Midoriya was and a little taller than Mei was. This is Izuku's mother. A way he described her made her seem a bit more intimidating, Mei thought as she looked at the short woman, who was now tearing up at the sight of her son. Izuku, it's so good to see you. I'm glad you're able to take time off to see your dear mother, Izuku's mother yelled as she wrapped her arms around her son. Haha, it's good to see you too, Mom. Have you been alright, living on your own? Midoriya asked. It's been pretty quiet and I'm slowly getting used to making enough food for just me, but I'm doing fine, Izuku's mother replied. And you must be Hatsume. My son's told me so much about you. Mei turned her head from Izuku's mother to Izuku himself, who is now sporting a small blush. He has. Of course he has. You're his girlfriend, after all. What am I saying? I haven't even introduced myself. I'm Midoriya Inko. It's nice to finally see you in person, Inko said, holding her hand out for a handshake. Likewise, Mrs. Midoriya. Izuku seemed happy to visit, Mei commented, taking Inko's hand and shaking it modestly. Please, just call me Inko. Mrs. Midoriya makes me sound old, Inko joked. Please, come in. Oh, thank you, Mei said, taking off her shoes and walking into the apartment. It wasn't anything special. There was a small dining table with 4 seats around it, a small living room with a modest-sized couch and TV. The hall connecting the front door to the rest of the house was decorated with pictures of their family, spanning from Inko's and Izuku's father's wedding picture to pictures of Izuku as a child. Incidentally, the only picture with Izuku's father in it was the wedding picture. Izuku had told her that he wasn't exactly in the picture, but she never knew it was for as long as it seemed. Please take a seat. I'll get you both some snacks and tea, Inko said as she rushed off to the kitchen. Let me help you, Mom, Izuku offered, moving towards the kitchen instead of the living room, where Mei currently sat. And before you say no, I insist. I want to catch up with you. Mei watched from the living room with a happy, content smile. It seemed that even at home, Izuku was more than willing to help others. She watched as Midoriya did simple things like helping his mother prepare food or reach into the cabinets that she couldn't. But she could tell that he was having fun. Oh Mei, sorry for leaving you out. I was just too preoccupied with catching up with my mom that I forgot to think about how bored you might be, Izuku said apologetically, rushing from the kitchen to the living room. No, it's okay, Izuku. I'm okay just watching, Mei replied. Nonsense, dear, you're my guest. It's my duty as a host to entertain you, Inko said firmly, leaving the kitchen also. Izuku, why don't you finish making the food? I want to talk with Hatsume for a bit. Okay, sure. Don't do anything embarrassing, please, Izuku pleaded jokingly as he walked off. Inko nodded at her son with a devilish smile before sitting down next to her son's girlfriend. Oh my, I'm still so surprised that my son has a girlfriend, and a cute one at that. He hasn't always had so many friends, Inko commented. Seriously, you don't know how hard it's been to hold back my tears. So he did get his crying habit from his mother, Mei thought, listening to what Inko had to say. You see, Izuku was a late bloomer when it came to his quirk. For most of his life, he was considered quirkless. Because of that, he didn't have too many friends. Inko continued, I've always been worried for my son ever since, even now. Even though he has so many friends who cherish him and a powerful quirk, I can't help but feel like that towards him. Which is why I have to ask, what are your intentions with my son? And my intentions? Mei asked. Yes, are you dating him because you love him, or for money, or are you with him so you can have kids with powerful quirks? Inko asked, clearly concerned. Izuku told me about those. I think he called them quirk marriages. They're awful. What? No, I would never date Izuku for that, Mei quickly retorted. I love Izuku. That's the truth. Not only is he cute, but he's also very caring and affectionate, even if he's really nervous about it. There's no one else I'd rather be with. Mei looked at Inko, who was now sniffling and crying tears of joy. Oh my. You're our real keeper, you know, Inko said, smiling while tears streamed down her face. I'm glad my Izuku chose to date you. Inko then leaned in and began to hug Mei. It wasn't anything special, just a small squeeze. Naturally, Mei hugged back. Thank you for giving us your permission, Mei joked. The sounds of plates clinking together could be heard, and Mei looked up to see Izuku walking towards the dining table with a small plate of snacks. He quickly stopped as soon as he saw his mother. Mom, you're crying, what's wrong? No, nothing's wrong, dear, Inko replied, wiping the tears from her eyes. Good. Now, let's eat. The Epilogue Part 2, Life After UA High. 2 years after graduating from UA. The years that followed Midoriya's graduation from UA High were hectic indeed. Him and the rest of Class 1 were known throughout Japan as the best heroes of their generation, some even managing to move on from internships and create their own agency while still on provisional license. They all had a fairly high ranking in terms of popularity and effectiveness in the hero community, and their lives have been great ever since. Midoriya was the best of the bunch, naturally. In his second of being a UA student, he was able to train his body to be able to use 45% of One for All, and in his third year he was able to use 70%. He was one of the students who created his own agency and rose high in the hero ranks, all the way to 50th by the end of his third year. Everyone looked at him in awe and believed he was the second All Might. Now, he was within the top 10 and could use 90% of One for All, making him more powerful than All Might during his golden age. He had one of the largest fan followings out of all the heroes, and his merchandise was always sold out in all the stores. His agency, simply named Deku's Hero Agency, already had over 40 heroes working there, and he even had a few heroes in training wanting to work under him as interns. Not only that, but his hero work had earned him a lot of money, so he was more than able to look after his mother and his own family. Speaking of family, Midoriya and Mei got married a few months after they graduated. Their wedding wasn't anything too fancy, nor was it filled to the brim with people from all over Japan. Their wedding was fairly small and only their friends and family were invited. All of Class 1 and 1H were there, as well as their respective parents and some of their teachers too. They moved in together and lived a happy life. Mei wasn't as successful as Midoriya was, naturally, but she was able to carve out a name for herself by selling her inventions to a prominent company. Once she had enough of that, Mei started her own company under the name of Hatsume's Babies, and her business rose to become one of the best. Not only that, but Midoriya made no secret that he used Mei's inventions on the field, so this attention brought her a lot of money from aspiring heroes. And finally, Mei and Midoriya even had children. This sprouted from Midoriya's want for children after having to take care of Eri for a few months after her rescue, and Mei's curiosity when she thought of making real babies instead of mechanical ones. This led to Midoriya and Mei's 2 young twins, one male and one female. The male was named Toshi. He had long banana-like locks like his mother, all of them bright green. His eyes were lime green in color, almost exactly like a mixture of both his father's and mother's eye colors. The female was named Makoto, and her hair was more like Mina's, pink and curly. Her eye color was similar to Toshi's. They were both 3 years old, and thus have not yet found what their quirks will be, or if they will have quirks at all. In short, everything worked out for the two in the end. They made it through UA High, one of the most prestigious and difficult hero schools in Japan. Without a hitch, their relationship thrived throughout the years, and they even have kids to prove it. They were happy. In the end, opposites really did attract. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.